little band called the Ramones. It's the Bennington Show. I'm Ron Bennington. There's Gail Bennington.
Yo.
I'm Ron Bennington. We are the only father-daughter show in the history of radio. Main reason is it's not that good of an idea. That's the seems
it's
like
not going to work for everybody.
Yeah, I mean for anyone. That's the way it's looking right now. It's there's too much of an age gap. Too much of
Yeah, I'm always like, you don't understand my music.
Yeah, and I'm always like, oh, geez, I'm still here. My family. They always say the thing, and you'll learn this because you're gonna have a baby.
Yep.
The thing that holds you back most is your family.
Oh, that's not what I thought you were going to say.
Well, it's a little what my dealer used to say to me all the time. He goes, your big problem. All this is getting in the way of your fun times. Tom Papa tickets over at the iBang, and go over there to see if you want to go see Tom Papa Unmasked. We've got a guy coming in a little bit who has written this gigantic, listen to this, that's a book.
Mm-hmm.
And I call that Bible thump.
Mm-hmm.
All about Robin Williams, his from the cradle to the grave, and that's just in a little while. But first, it's got everybody talking. What do you hear? Now, how did you first end up with this, or how did you hear about it?
I saw it just slowly starting to blow up on Twitter. So people started to tweet
Last night,
Yanni or Laurel, what do you hear?
Now, by today, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. People on the street were arguing about it when I was coming in today. So some people hear Yanni and some people hear Laurel, which is two weird things.
No, yeah.
Don't normally even come up.
Immediately when I saw the name of it, I was like, how? Like, before I even listened, I thought, well, how are those two things going to be confused?
So we're going to play this on the air if you want to play along. 844-ROCK-GOD. 844-ROCK-GOD to tell us if you hear Yanni or Laurel, because some people, this is like that blue dress. Is it the blue dress?
Is it blue and white or golden something else? I don't know.
Golder. And they say that the same people who saw the gold dress hear Laura, and the same people that hear the blue dress, Yanni. And then there was also, I saw a scientist saying that today, saying that he believes that this comes from an alien place, that aliens have sent this here. And then he started crying, and he ran. He put his whole face in the camera, and he was screaming, "We're doomed! We're doomed!" And the cops came in and they were hitting him with sticks. All right, so you play this loud and clear. Let's do it 3 times if you want to vote along. 844-ROCK-GOD. 844-ROCK-GOD. Go ahead and hit it, Chris.
Laurel. Laurel. Laurel.
So it's some people hear Yanni, some people hear Laurel. I actually heard it sounded like a song to me. Think of Laurel, laugh, don't cry.
That's what you hear? It's beautiful.
Well, that was something called General Hospital. General Hospital. We won't say ours yet. Here's Jay in Bakersfield. Jay, do you hear Yanni or Laurel?
I only hear Laurel. Even with the bass turned up, it's only Laurel.
All right, take another listen. Give us 3 more.
Laurel. Laurel. Laurel.
Vito, I saw you just slap your own face as you tried to go through this. Did you try it with your mom?
No, I did not try it with my mom.
Please send it to your mom, because I'd love to know.
Yeah.
Is Leslie a Yanni or a Laurel?
Here's what I think Leslie hears. Lasagna.
Lasagna.
Lasagna. Those two are close.
They really are close.
And when I say close, I mean I'm a little nervous about it. I mean, time to call the authorities close. Keith in Delaware.
Good morning, Ronnie.
Yeah.
At home, me and both my children heard Yanni when we were listening to it on our computer.
Yeah.
But when it came through my XM into the radio, I hear Laurel.
Interesting.
That's very strange.
I've actually talked to people who heard it one way, then heard it another. And this person, I'm going to say the truth, they're a very distrusting person. So they thought that they were switching it from time to time, except for they were with their friend and one heard one and one heard the other. Let's see. Matt in Orlando. Matt.
Hey, I heard Yanni on the TV this morning, and then I just heard it on the radio, and it was Laurel. So
that's weird.
All right, play it one more time.
Laurel. Laurel. Laurel.
Gail Bennington, I'm going to go with you.
Okay, I will tell you, last night when I heard it, it was clear as a bell. Hearing it now, it's exactly the same. I don't know how anyone doesn't hear Yanni.
You hear Yanni more than Yanni.
Yanni.
Yeah.
It's saying Yanni.
Well, you can understand that I'm saying Yanni because I only hear Laurel, 100%.
You're just Laurel.
I've never even heard the slightest, and I'm even trying to hear for a knee.
Yes, that's the part that I'm so confused about. Where would anyone get an L or an R sound? What am I supposed to be listening to? Because it's so clear. It's not like a faint sound that I'm making out.
Chris, what do you hear?
I only hear Laurel. That's it. Only
Interesting. Vitamins?
I only hear Yanni.
You hear Yanni.
You
I
hear
only
Yanni?
hear Yanni, and it's really weird. The reason I slapped my face was because I don't understand how everybody hears
Can you just
Laurel.
listen to it one more time and just tell me the pronunciation? Are you hearing Yanni or Yanni? Because I'm hearing Yanni.
I'm hearing Yanni.
All right, let's listen again.
Why? That doesn't make sense.
Laurel. Laurel. Laurel.
Did you?
Yanni.
Okay, I'm not even sure that's an option, but it's Yanni. Over and
Yanni.
over.
No, it's Laurel, because that's all I'm hearing.
That doesn't make any sense to me. And I feel like this is going to tear us apart.
Well, we were kicking around the theories last night because we started to see a pattern. And, you know, I don't know if I want to give the gimmick away or have they already said it on TV?
Some people are, talking about what they believe to be the issue.
I noticed that younger people hear Yanni and older people hear Laurel. So I'm thinking that there's a couple of things being played at the same time.
And we're picking up like different tonalities or something?
Yes, you're hearing a dog whistle and I'm hearing a trombone sound or a kind of a horn that's bringing me to death.
Oh, God. Is it a low, Laurel?
It's like this.
Oh, no. I don't hear that at all.
Hey, Vinny.
Hey, how you guys?
Yeah.
Hey, I hear Yanni, but I was wondering if people that see the gold and white dress hear Yanni, because that's what I did, or if you hear Laurel and you saw the black and blue dress.
Look, I went down to get coffee today, right? And the Yanni people and the Laurel people were screaming at each other. And then someone, a Laurel person, took a knife and put it into a Yanni person's neck.
No.
Chris, I'm worried about you because we know that you've aged yourself through your addictions. You should be hearing
you
the
should be with us.
Yanni.
I'm straight Laurel.
What have you done to yourself?
Destroyed myself from the inside out.
Bob in Chicago.
Yeah, I don't see how anyone can hear anything other than Yanni.
You hear Yanni.
Yanni.
Vito,
100%.
Vito, I'm curious about you.
Can you just put it on one more time and then think of the difference between the pronunciation of Yanni and Yanni?
Right.
Okay? Listen one more time, please.
Laurel. Laurel. Laurel.
Yanni.
You're the only one hearing Yanni.
I'm being pumped right now. Like he's not even on our team.
No, he's not on the Yanni team at all.
No, but
No.
what I was saying Yanni today because I don't
Right,
hear
you've never heard
anything.
it. Yeah.
close
You're just
to
going
it.
on the spelling.
Yeah. And Bob, what do you hear? You hear Yanni.
Yeah, 100%, Ron. It's Yanni.
Yeah. Let's go. Thanks, buddy. Let's go to Jim in Canada. Jim.
Ronnie, I think you guys are playing a game because I was listening to Jim and Sam this morning, and all I heard was Yanni. I'm a 50-year-old man. I heard Yanni, and then you guys just played it, and all I heard was Laurel. And then when you were talking to that last caller and you played it again, all I heard was Yanni. I don't know if you guys are playing.
I swear to you, it would be far too stupid to do that.
No, we wouldn't do that. But that actually makes me think, are you on the edge right now?
Yeah.
You're like, whatever like that tonality is, you're able to go in and out.
I don't, like I say, I swear to God, when you guys were playing at there, all I heard was the Laurel. And this morning on Jim and Sam, I'm listening and I'm going, Yanni, Yanni, Yanni. And then they played what it was supposed to be. And I'm going, like, how are you getting that? And now all I hear is Laurel for the first time. And now it's Yanni again. So, mind fuck.
Now, did Jim and Sam hear it the same way, or did they hear it different? Oh, he's gone.
Oh no! I need to know
fuck.
who's on my team, Yanni.
Chuck in Atlanta, you were listening to Jim and Sam today, right?
Yes, I was.
Did they both hear the same thing?
Laurel.
I know
we
that.
heard this morning,
Yeah.
and they said it over and over again, and then you guys are playing it, and now it's Yanni.
All right. Now,
Sometimes you hear panties.
Panties.
I hear that anyway. That's my own problem, though.
That's in your head, dude. So they were both Laurels.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because the old Ron and Ron. I keep hearing panties.
Jet in Queens.
Yes, hi.
What's up, Jet?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So I don't hear Yanni, and I don't hear Laurel at all, but I do hear Yeri.
Yeri?
Yeri?
I hear Yeri. I don't know why. Yeah.
You know, a couple times I heard Larry.
I'm crying for you, Larry, but you can't see it because I'm in the water.
In the
It must
water.
be in the water. It is. I think so.
All right, Jet, I love your name. This is very exciting. Leslie Calisi is on the line right now, Vito's mom. Vito, I want you and Leslie to listen at the same time. Leslie.
Hi, Ron. How are you?
Hi, darling. How are you?
Hi, Gail. How are you?
Oh my God! Just first, let me say thank you so much for your gifts. I love them so
Too sweet.
much.
Well, Gail, I'm glad that you liked it.
Too sweet. We want you and Vito to listen to this at the same time.
And my boss listened too. He's sitting with me.
Yeah. All right.
Dr. J's here.
Let's take a listen.
Okay.
Laurel. Laurel. Laurel.
Leslie, what do you hear?
Johnny.
You hear Yanni. And that's the same way you hear it.
I hear Yanni.
All right, maybe my thing might be thrown off that
Maybe.
it's generational.
It's possible.
What are you here, Dr.
But
Laurel.
how many things are we not hearing the same? You know, maybe that's why some people don't like Radiohead. You know what I mean? It's always shocking to me when people are like, "Oh, how could anyone listen to that shit?" I'm like, "Oh, really?"
It sounded to me like when you say hard rock Johnny.
Yanni, hard rock Yanni,
Yanni, Yanni.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, thanks, darling.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Leslie.
Bye, bye.
Bye, guys.
So sweet,
Love her.
Vito. Your mom's so sweet.
That was very exciting.
I don't know why that would be. Troy.
Yeah, hey, Ronnie.
Yeah.
I'm also hearing Yuri as well. It almost sounds like it's an old Jewish woman trying to pronounce Yuri. You know, it's like Yuri.
I hear the deep is.
Weird.
Do you hear deep, Chris?
I hear very little Laurel.
That's what it sounds
pretty
like. Can I? This is what Yanni sounds like. It sounds like Yanni.
What?
Yanni. Yanni.
So here's
Yanni.
what I believe is happening. You got two things being played at the same time.
Yeah.
And the ear, which I thought was younger, but now that doesn't, maybe it's just the way people hear tones.
Yeah.
Hear the higher, and then other people hear the lower.
Yeah.
Now, up until we started doing this show, I really thought I had figured it out that, as you lose certain hearing ranges as you get older, that's what happens. This is why I only listen to the oboe.
Because right now, my house is Team Yanni, both of us.
Yeah.
But my man's older than Chris. So I was like...
Jesus, and he's still alive?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to believe.
Well, he didn't live as a hard life as
No one
Chris
has.
did. He doesn't consistently beat up his body.
I had Chris's mom's diary, and it was age 1, and it says, "I can't believe my baby's hungover."
Oh, no.
So sad.
Hey, Cody, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, so I hear Laurel loud and clear, straight as day, but in the beginning I hear E and then a deep Laurel and then E, but it's just Laurel, but with like an E and an E at the end, where I can kind of see the Yanni beginning and ending, but all I hear is Laurel in the middle.
These people on the edge of Yanni and Laurel are really they're living a weird life.
They're bisexual. Because I think this has to do with your sexuality.
Are you Pam?
Yeah, I swing.
Okay, good for
That
you.
makes sense.
It's all right. We're putting together a whole new hypothesis. Jake, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? I love you guys
Thanks,
so
buddy.
much that I got nothing but hate for the rest of the world. So
Good.
I'm here in Laurel, and I live in Delaware. I don't understand how it's anything but Laurel. I've never had done,
All right.
from Laurel, Delaware. Did you say Yanni, Delaware? It's Laurel.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you 100%. I mean, I don't hate the rest of the world, but I like that idea. Here's Rick in South Carolina.
Hey, y'all. Hey, I was firmly in the Yanni camp this morning, the high-pitched Yanni. But then a co-worker of mine told me that he could hear both. I thought that was impossible. But he said listen for the Laurel in between, just like a couple callers in the back said. In between the yeah and the knee is Laurel, the deep Laurel. And if you focus on that,
All right, I'm going to try this.
All right, so this is what's interesting. These aren't. I would have thought they were lined up exactly the same.
Me too.
But they are not. So they sneak the deep in towards the end of it. But I'm only hearing the end, so I'm going to try to listen before I hear anything.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Laurel, Laurel, Laurel.
I can't do it.
I
I
only
don't
hear a deep Laurel.
I can't switch. I want to be Pan, but I can't.
Gary in Canada.
Yeah, hi. Last night I heard it on the news, and it sounded like Larry. But Chris played it the first time this morning, it was. Then the second and third time was Yanni. And I'm kind of driving in a hilly area, and now my ears need to pop. And ever since I've had that kind of ear popping sensation, I'm hearing the Erie. So I heard all three.
I'm going to be honest, I couldn't live like that.
No, I can't live like any of these people. I thought that maybe since Jim and Sam are on the West Coast, they could have heard it differently. Has something to do with where the sun is in the sky. Brian in San Francisco.
Oh, hello?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We actually did an experiment at my hospital because we like wasting government money. And we actually isolated the audio. And the audio actually is playing both words.
Well,
so
obviously.
Depending on how your brain processes things, it decides on what's considered noise and filters out the rest. That's why some people hear a combination of the words and some are only hearing one or the other.
So wait, I had this all as just hearing ranges, but you're saying it's different types of people process the world differently.
Weird.
Yes, it's basic filtering out what the brain thinks is noise. So just depending on your general environment, you will filter out ambient noises, and it'll determine what you'll actually hear.
That's frightening.
That's
to me.
really strange.
I don't like that.
Because you want to believe that you hear everything, like everything that can be heard. You want to think that you can hear it.
Well, the only thing of
Your brain
reality
shuts off
is
so much.
reality is just a shared reality, right? So that's always the frightening thing. And I told you I have this problem between deep blues and black when I see, and it's made my life a living hell since I found it out. All right, our guest is here, but we're going to pick this up later. Chris, tell us a little bit about him.
It's author Dave Itzkoff, his new book, Robin. It's available everywhere now in stores and online.
It's about Robin Williams, and it goes as deep as you could possibly go. His life, his career, and obviously his tragic death. The new book, Robin, is available everywhere in stores and online. Dave Itzkoff is here. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
You are far younger than I expected.
Well, how young do you think I am? I guess.
Well, here's the thing. I would have thought that you would have been around when Robin first broke, but I'm going to guess not. Right?
No, not yet. No, but I was old enough to see Popeye in theaters. If that places it for you.
Now, this is a interesting thing about Robin Williams' career, because he was a star for 30 plus years, right?
Sure.
So, and I remember the night that he died like it was yesterday. It was one of those things. But, I mean, to me, it was always stand up first, Mork second, the movies third. But for any of the millennials, it was the cartoon.
Yeah.
And it was
Jumanji and Mrs. Doubtfire.
Also, Hook, which was like playing Pan.
What they all said. Now, I remember when Hook came out and it got slammed so much, but there's an entire generation of people that completely loves that and doesn't even know Mork.
That's really remarkable. That's kind of mind blowing. Yeah, but that shows you the breadth of what he could do and what he accomplished. Certainly.
Yeah. So when you jumped in to do this book, and like I said, it's cradle to the grave type stuff. Everything is involved. Where did the passion come from? What was it about?
Well, I'm a reporter for the New York Times, and I had written a few pieces about Robin while he was still alive, and interviewed him and profiled him, and I did one piece in particular that was really memorable for me. It was in 2009, where he let me come on the road with him for a few days for what would basically be his last stand-up tour. And, he'd had a lot of really tough things befall him, just prior to this tour, that, he'd had a relapse into alcoholism and then went into rehab and got clean, and then had divorced his second wife, who was really integral into his life and career, and, helped him find movies like Mrs. Doubtfire. And then, he had tried to get the tour going earlier and then started having all these heart problems and basically had to have, open heart surgery and put the whole thing on pause. So all that had happened before we, got together. And, a lot of that was, material that he was dealing with, in the stand-up show he was performing. But also, even when we would converse, he was so open and candid about all these things that he had kind of, suffered through at the time. And that just struck me. Most people are not, when they have hardships like that, they don't necessarily want to put it out on the table like that. And he really did. He wanted people to know that's what he was going through. And that really stuck with me.
What do you think it was about him that could share like that? Was it the stand-up? Because that's where the material was?
It's hard to know. I think, people, I have, a recovering addict in my family. My father was a cocaine addict for, 20 plus years. And after he got clean, he became a very kind of relentlessly confessional person and wanted people to know about, what he had been and who he had been. And I don't know this, but people tell me that like when you have heart surgery and, they have to literally crack open your ribs, and that has kind of, there's that, the physical part of that becomes kind of metaphoric, that you open up afterwards. So it could be any of those things. It's hard to know.
Well, and you go back and forth with his movie career, some of it being that kind of crazy out there Robin Williams stuff, but the other stuff was sentimental almost to a fault.
I mean, I think it's certainly, that it became that way, I think, in the later movies, that, he was certainly drawn to stuff that was maybe a little bit more, mawkish, and that kind of, served like, I think, a sentimental side that he had. But he was always serious about his passion for acting. I mean, I think people may have forgotten, he studied at Juilliard for 3 years, and even before that had attended 2 other colleges where he, worked, trained as an actor. And that's really what he wanted to do. And the comedy was almost kind of something that it was accidental, or that he fell into when he returned to San Francisco after Juilliard, and, couldn't immediately make a living as an actor, but stand-up was starting to happen again in that town, and it was a really, different and kind of vital scene, and that something he picked up, really quickly and did differently from anybody else who was performing then. And, he gets this reputation for, being a comedian who later decided, I want to be taken seriously, and now I'm an actor. But both sides of him, I mean, he always wanted to do both, and just kind of exercise those muscles at different times.
Well, normally back then, 2 people were either into improv classes or stand-up.
Right.
And he brought them both together, because we say improv in the stand-up world, you mean kind of crowd work or whatever. He never really did that Richard Belzer type thing.
But he always seemed stream of consciousness, at least.
Yes.
Whether that was true, or, whether, that was part of his act, or whether it was stream of consciousness, everything felt so on the surface with him, so like a raw nerve all the time.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I think of when I think of his improvisation.
And the fact that he was doing that on TV on a sitcom, nobody had done before, or probably even since.
Certainly. One of the great things about the Mork character, and he's supposed to be this alien who's like completely, unfamiliar with Earth and kind of baffled by it. And so that gave him the kind of license to, work in a lot of bits and improvisations and voices into that character. But, it also, he was certainly happy on the show to kind of cultivate this reputation that he's just making it all up on the spot in front of the camera. And, there's this sort of urban myth that the scripts would just have blank spaces and just a line that says, Robin does his thing here. And it did not work that way. And it really, I think for the people that wrote on the show, it kind of got under their skin a little bit that, this perception that, Robin is really making it all up as he goes.
Well, I remember when that show broke, and it broke as a gigantic show. So I get a call from a girl, and she goes, were you watching TV last night? I go, no, I wasn't. She goes, I just saw the funniest person in the world.
Wow.
And I said to her, that's impossible, because I know who the funniest people in the world are, and I've never heard of this guy. And then you had to wait a full week before I got to see the show again. And then when I saw that show, I was like, I had no place to put it. Only because we're seeing, and Steve Martin had only broke a year or 2 before or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And we were already hung up with that. But I remember, if you look at pictures of Fez when he was younger, he was wearing the stupid suspenders, and he just went. There was guys in every class that started doing that right away.
Yeah. There's a story that David Letterman tells me in the book where when he came to town to L.A. to start making it as a stand-up and a comedy writer, and he'd go to clubs and see Robin and see the kind of performance style that he was delivering, and it was intimidating to him.
Sure,
he thought of himself. Letterman did is just I'm a guy who goes up in front of a microphone and delivers a kind of straightforward routine. And if this, what Robin is doing is where stand-up is headed, I can't keep up with that. I can't compete with that.
Right. But the reality of it was there wasn't really a lot of people who followed him off into that world.
Yeah.
Right. It seems impossible to pull off. Like,
well, you brought up a thing in the book that I was always curious about is how he felt about Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And he definitely heard some footsteps.
Yeah, and similarly, even it was the same way with Eddie Murphy. That when Eddie Murphy started breaking through with his movies like 48 Hours and Trading Places, and Robin really had not established himself as a movie star yet. That really got to him, that this feeling of, that the industry in a way is a kind of a zero-sum game, and if somebody is rising, that means that somebody else has to be in decline. And he took that upon himself. And so a few years later, when Jim Carrey was finding success with, Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber, and Robin was in a little bit of a kind of a rut with his movies, this feeling that, somebody else is going to come along and kind of take my place. And not that he disliked Carrey or that they weren't cordial with each other, but this real fear that, like, there can only be one of us, and audiences like him better.
Yeah, it's the Highlander thing. And also that if you look back over it, a comedy movie star doesn't normally have the same peak as like Jack Nicholson was able to run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you find out how few movies like Cheech and Chong made, you're kind of surprised.
Yeah, you kind of have like you have a lot of like a first flourish early on, and then a couple things hit, and then that's that's it. You're basically done.
Well, you don't. It doesn't age well. Comedy doesn't always age well. And I remember when my kids were little, I showed them Robin Williams stuff, and their first thing was like, "Why does he think that black people talk that way?" And I had to be like, well, they kind of did when he started, but he was doing really.
Yeah, I think that that's pretty perilous stuff now, and I think it's something that he had to kind of learn over time. He grew up, for example, in extremely wealthy households, and a life of privilege, and had like households literally with black servants, and had a black nanny growing up. And I think he probably felt that gave him a little bit of license to, talk in that kind of vernacular, and that gave him a kind of a pass. And you'll see, even in like the first couple of comic relief specials where, maybe he'll try to talk that way to Whoopi Goldberg, and she'll give him a look or a line that sort of, she's not shooting him down, but, she's trying to let him know in a subtle way that, like, you can't quite do this. And he really seemed, he thought he had the license to do it.
Well, just even you saying that, how many comedians had servants? It's normally not their lifestyle.
Yeah. I mean, think about, like Richard Pryor and the childhood that he experienced, or, I did a piece for the Times a few weeks ago about Tracy Morgan, and, also growing up in really hard conditions. And that's the kind of upbringing that you tend to think forges a comedian, somebody with like a lot to get off their chest. And, Robin's father came from a wealthy Midwest industrial family. He became an executive at Ford and made a lot of money. His mom was a socialite and came from a kind of an aristocratic Southern background. I think what what was crucial about it is that neither parent was around much growing up. I mean, he loved both of them, and they influenced him, but also the dad traveled a lot for work. His mom was very deep into, planning social activities and organizing, dinner parties and such. And so even though, he had friends all growing up and, was popular at his schools, but he still had a feeling of, loneliness and isolation, and that, on the one hand was very helpful in terms of him cultivating his voices and characters and bits that he could do alone, but also, feeling lonely, pretty much all through his life in different ways.
Kind of a poor little rich boy.
A little bit.
Which is always sad. You know what I mean? That's always a sad place. The book is Robin. It's available everywhere in stores and online. It's a difficult read as we get to the end of his life, and they decided it was a mistake, that they thought it was Parkinson's, but
Well, I mean, it's not strictly speaking. It's a little different. I mean, most neurologists would not say it's a misdiagnosis. It's not but Parkinson's is a disease that basically affects or focuses on the motor part of the brain, and so movement and posture, and that's the diagnosis he was given in his own lifetime. Robin was. It wasn't until after his death, and they conducted an autopsy and looked at samples of his brain tissue, that they found evidence of what's called Lewy body dementia or Lewy body disease, and it's akin to Parkinson's, but in addition to the motor parts of the brain, it also attacks like the parts of the brain that handle cognition and perception. So sadly, I mean, the people who have it, I mean, they can suffer from, really like high anxiety and paranoia. They can have sort of, wild, changes of mood and behavior. And some people have, hallucinations. So, that's likely, certainly from the anecdotal experiences of people that, were around him in those last weeks and months. I mean, they saw him going through things like that. And,
Right.
So he's experiencing, all of that at the end of his life. It's pretty devastating.
Yes, it's incredible, particularly when you think about the creative brain that this happened to.
Yeah.
It almost seems like the motor burnout, but again, that might be romanticizing. It's just something that happens.
It's, it's interesting. I mean, it's something that, Billy Crystal said to me that, he said, you think about sort of how rapidly the inventiveness came to Robin, and now think about that same mind and, going through a disease like this and the rapidness with which the kind of, the terrors are coming at him at that same pace, that was probably unbearable.
Well, we kind of started talking about this, of just the amount of love that came out after Robin passes away. And when you get into just other people kind of hearing and their reactions, I mean, there's the Jeff Bridges thing laid me out, the Bill Murray thing laid me out.
Yeah.
And we went through that. Matter of fact, the night that he died, we went on the air that night.
Wow.
Talked to many of his friends, and people were both crushed.
Yeah.
But at the same time saying, I couldn't believe that I knew this guy at this period of his life. I mean, it was nonstop his entire life.
Yeah. I mean, I think, people had, and even people that were, close to him had all kinds of reactions, in part because, some people just, hadn't seen him, through that sort of those last weeks and months where, it was really severe, and, he was, just physically, looking different and seeming a little sort of absent. And if you didn't know that he was going through that at all, it was, I think, especially devastating to lose him in that way. It was hard, and it just for, I think, this sort of, for everyday civilians, people who just only knew him through his work and thought of him as an essentially, joyous person or wanted to bring joy to other people.
Yeah.
It's so hard to reconcile.
Well, even his relapse was because I'm in sobriety, and to even hear a relapse that long into it, shakes people to their core. So immediately hearing about that, I'm like, oh my God, what did he do? And then I had no idea of the stuff that happened.
Yeah, and I think that really is what it is particularly for people who didn't know him on a personal level, and yet the world feels like they knew Robin Williams.
Yeah.
To think of that person as being vulnerable and susceptible to darkness and sadness, I think not only did it make everyone so upset to lose a great artist, but it made people go like, what is possible?
Right.
Yeah.
What is our mind? How vulnerable are we at any time? And it was a very scary, I think, realization for people.
Yeah, it was horrifying.
Yeah. And I think, one of the first times that I can remember, at least, I mean, the sort of the social media component of it, that, because literally everybody in the world probably knew who he was. And there was this almost instantaneous global conversation / reaction that's happening. And, you can't, it was like everybody was in mourning all at once.
Yes. Well, that night I was at a screening right next door at Fox, so I had my phone turned off. It was even like smartphones. It was whatever that phone was called before, right? So I turned my phone on and I just hear ping, 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 ping.
Wow.
And I immediately thought we had a terrorist attack in New York again. That's the first thing. And then I was reading, these texts. And then as I came out of the building, it was up already on the side, scrolling on the side of the Fox building. And it's pretty much where everybody went.
Yeah.
But he really was, Chaplin. I mean, I went
Absolutely.
back over the work. The work is tremendous. And the world's greatest dad is, if any other actor would have done that, they would have said, here's his piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I really love that film. It's for various reasons, a little hard to watch now, but I thought it was so underappreciated at its time. It really sort of, that and a couple other things he did really pointed to, I think, a whole other phase he certainly could have had in his career, where he could have done these, kind of character pieces that were a little more understated and had a little more emotion and a little, even characters who were sort of ill at ease with themselves, but that he kind of grasped the psychology and the emotion of those people.
Well, if you brought up Popeye, I think the critics were way too harsh on Popeye.
Yeah.
I think he was unbelievable, and then I think the soundtrack
yes,
that
is
movie's
great.
really
I love that
cool,
film.
and like not like any other movie ever. It's
Yeah.
so unique and so weird.
I mean, if you look at the comic book adaptations that get made today and how kind of manufactured they are, whereas this was, it's so rough around the edges, but that's what gives it its charm. And no studio would make a movie. If you made a Popeye adaptation today, it would not look anything like that.
It would have been oddly a million times different.
Yeah.
But I think that's where a lot of his work is, and you're following along in the book. You're like, oh my God, he had more success. Like he would be on these strings of just giant movie after giant movie.
I think that stretch in the late '80s to almost the mid '90s, where you're going from Good Morning Vietnam, to Dead Poets Society, to Awakenings, The Fisher King, and then sort of culminating with Good Will Hunting, which he finally won his Oscar for. I mean, that's any other performer would be so envious to have even a portion.
Absolutely. I mean, Peter Sellers didn't get an Oscar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, how many comics, how many stand-ups have gone on to win an Oscar? It's only a handful.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, people would count him out because, again, I don't think everybody realized what it originally was, because you grew up with him and you were so used to him, and you're like, well, there he is.
Yeah. I think we, as audiences, we start to take people, performers for granted a little bit, and we just, because we expect that they're just always going to be around in some capacity, and we think, in our own mind, we've kind of boxed them off. We say this is what they're capable of.
Yeah.
We know what they're going to do more or less each time out, and first of all, he was, he knocked down those kinds of perceptions about himself so many times and proved often that he was more than people tried to restrict him to. But I think certainly in the later years, it was hard, I think, to beat back those perceptions, and even how he started to think about himself, about really reckoning with the idea that maybe I'm not a leading man anymore. And,
right.
It was something that he knew was going to happen eventually. I mean, with Mork kind of falling apart so quickly and lasting only a couple of years, he knew these things can come and go so easily.
Well, the other thing, and I remember when this happened, but his kids came out and were talking, and they were just great. And you interview them in the book, but that was a whole part of his life that none of us really knew. And then for them all to be like, yeah, he was a really good dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, all three of them, and they're all, grown now. I mean, in their 20s and 30s. Yeah. This, 3 children, and they're just incredibly, thoughtful, smart, people, and for what they've gone through, to be I think to have so much poise and composure, at least in their public lives is extraordinary.
Yeah, but they all knew that they were loved. That's the thing that always gets to you, because, like you said, family goes through all kinds of stuff, but at the end of the day, do they know that? It's a fascinating book, and it's a fascinating life. Robin, thank you so much, Dave, and this is available everywhere right now.
Yes. Right now. Thank you so much for letting me do this.
That was great. Yeah, that was this Genie that he played.
Yeah.
Which to me was somewhat of a throwaway. Like, I remember thinking of it as a money grab, but kids that are now in their 30s, I guess, loved it.
Yeah, it's crazy because that was so much of people my age and a little bit younger, their big connection to him, or at least their introduction to him.
Right.
I mean, he went on to have, a career. He had a huge career before that and a huge career after. But I think that was a starting point for a lot of young people at a certain age.
Well, you also watched it a million times. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I remember that was like, when people were putting out all these like tributes and things to Robin Williams and everyone was like writing things, everybody kept using that moment of like the genie with his like shackles coming off, like, "Genie, you are free." And some people were like, "Well, that's a bad message about suicide." But I was like, yeah, but these are like people who, see him as, someone who was in pain and now he's not in pain. It was really heartbreaking.
Well, also, you had that thing of people going, "Oh, could he do that to his family?" But when you go through the book and what had happened to him, he wasn't himself at all, and we don't know.
And also,
we don't know the kind of terror.
It's a lot to put on someone to say, like, go through your darkness and you are responsible for everyone around you. So like you have to move through it. It is a lot that we put on people.
Yeah.
And we do, like, we ask that of our loved ones. We ask like please get through your hard stuff.
Well, I always tell Chris, I go, drink yourself to death.
You wouldn't.
You're going to
try.
Yeah, have some fun in your suicide. Is what I say to him. But he, it's so weird that he was beloved by different generations for different things. It's it's unbelievably rare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unbelievably rare not to just, just think, it's always amazing to me when someone dies when they're old, and I think if this would have happened when they were younger. Muhammad Ali was one that came and went like that. Chuck Berry. I don't think because you live a long time, people don't have that thing of, oh my God. You know what I mean?
This is a true tragedy.
Yeah. And I think there was at least, 2, maybe even 3 generations who went, oh, I didn't realize how much I love that dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you had mentioned Hook also for that younger generation. And that was such an emotional movie for young people. There was like so much heartbreak and fear and all that kind of stuff. And he was embodying somebody who was like, had lost their childhood, which is really what like your fear is as a child, right?
Sure.
Like your biggest fear is like losing what you are. For an adult, you don't worry about it because you're like, I am who I am now.
I am who I am.
Yeah.
Here's the weird thing about Hook. That movie was like #1 for 4 straight weeks and was considered a giant flop.
So weird.
You know what I mean? Like the critics killed it. It's not obviously a perfect film.
Right.
But when you're a kid, you're not looking for perfect films. You're looking for the Lost Boys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're looking for that experience. And, that the stuff that lives on with kids, they don't go, oh, I used to love this, but now here's the thoughts. They're just like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to show it to my kids. But I do remember that thing of before him and after him. It was, I don't know if I remember anybody being that kind of a triple threat before then either.
Yeah.
Particularly when you didn't know who they were before. Where suddenly, oh, they're in nightclubs, they're in movies, they're on TV.
Right. And also, like you said, the ability to be taken seriously as both a comedic actor and a dramatic actor. It's like sometimes you get one role like that and people are like, oh my God, give him an Oscar nomination because we'll never see this again. But he really could move back and forth in that world.
And he was one of the first people that were on regular TV. Now, ABC then, you would be doing 30, 35 million people, like literally 10 times bigger than Big Bang Theory or something. And then you figure like 30 times bigger than Atlanta. You know what I mean? Which seems like a craze. But one of the first people I ever, he was like, yeah, I do, coke. You know what I mean? Like, that was the different kind of a thing. And he'd be like, oh, I don't know what I was doing last night. And everybody would laugh. Everybody would laugh rather than me. It wasn't even a matter of what is he talking about? Like with some, people.
He sounds fun.
David, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, Ronnie? Anyway, favorite movie of his was World According to Garp. But I had a run-in with Robin Williams at a local supermarket in Mill Valley. It's just north of San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I was going through an aisle, and he was coming right at me, and we made eye contact. And I wanted to say something, but he just had this little smile on his face. And I go, I'm not going to bother this man. I know who he is. He knows that I know who he is. And it was something that I'll never forget. I didn't talk to him, but he wasn't working, so I left the man be.
But just
I'll never forget that.
But of course, but just imagine that you've got to go 30 years with whatever stranger seeing you, having that, I made eye contact with him, and that's it. Every time you go out to the store, even if people aren't mobbing you, you'd be, it's me. Hey.
I know.
Hey.
You just can't.
It's like being at a crowded party.
You really just can't have a regular reaction. And exactly, not even people who are going, oh my God.
Yeah.
But people are just like looking at you wide eyed and can't, fumbling their words. And you just can't have.
Mr. Williams, I have to tell you, Popeye meant more to me. He's like, yeah, all right. Yeah, was good. Hey, Jake in Nashville.
Hey, that was a great interview, and I'm definitely going to pick up the book. I think it's weird. I felt really sad when he died, for no particular reason. But it's like you almost had the sense that he was just an inherently good person through everything that he did, and that, like, he would be a good friend, which to me is a really bizarre feeling to have for somebody you see on screen. I think it just makes him that special. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. There's certain performers, and Robin was definitely one of them, that the audience also wants to take care of.
Yeah.
And there were times that he just, it would be kind of cringy and embarrassing to me how much it looked like he needed.
Oh, yeah.
The audience. And when he was doing Broadway while we were still working here, and there was a meeting that took place right down the street from here. And he'd be taking over that meeting quite a bit.
Right.
And he would be so nice to people, but I'm like, well, that's not the whole purpose of what, you know what I mean? Like,
well,
no one would just, but I wouldn't hold it against anybody. You go in and see Robin Williams do a free hour and 15. But I didn't know, I was like a little bit like, all right, dude, I get it.
Well, years ago, I had been rewatching Mrs. Doubtfire with some friends. And so there's this moment. So he works at a TV station, but he doesn't, have a show or anything. He just works at the TV station. And one day, one of the higher ups, I was like watching him, and he's in the prop room. And he's eavesdropping. And so he's like got these like little dinosaur toys. And he's like, I'm looking at the jungle. Dun, 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 dun. And he's like going crazy. And he's like, this guy needs a show. And I was like, but who would think that? Like, that's the weird thing about Robin Williams is like, if anyone else behaved that way, that was like that needing of attention and that big, it would be crazy. But then the truth of it is like, he probably was behaving that way and people did give him things. You know what I mean? Because
that's the myth. But the reality of it is he did go to Juilliard. He did prepare. He had photographic memory so that he could go out to clubs, do coke, drink, look at the script of Mork and Mindy and run in and do it.
Right.
He was accused for years of stealing material, which is about the the worst thing in the stand-up community. But he was hip hop. You know what I mean? He was sampling.
Right.
And he was doing it in a different way. None of that is excusable. There's plenty of things that are excusable. You bring up the Mrs. Doubtfire, and there's a fucking scene that I just hate. in that movie where he's saying to the judge, I need them as much as they need me. And that's why he did it. And I'm like, that's not what a parent is supposed to be. You know what I mean? You're just saying I'm very selfish.
Like,
and
I need my
this,
pets.
Yeah. And even though this is so against their mom and, you know, is going to kind of fuck them up as years go by, I need it. I compulsively need it. So, but I think he was open about that kind of shit as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, see that Bobcat movie, man. World's Greatest Dad. It's just unbelievable.
Really, really good.
Unbelievable. And he did that, you know, pretty late in his career. And, you know, Dave brought up like, oh, I wish more people would have saw. It's hard to even see on cable because of the way movies are fucking released. You know, because that was an independent film. 1 Hour Photo is nuts. Insomnia, he's just so fucking scary.
I forgot
I mean,
how weird that
this
was.
is America's most lovable, huggable guy, and he just did these movies. They're just and they're great.
Yeah. You know what I really want to rewatch too was Toys, because I remember that was like, it kind of got swept under the rug,
Yeah.
but it was so surreal and really weird.
Giant failure too.
Yeah. And I remember that. But I would be interested to go back and watch it.
Well, it's one of those things that, you know, it had the best intentions, but it didn't, you know, I mean, it's really hard to make
Yeah.
a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times we're like, oh, even the Oscar movies stink, you know? And I'm not even that crazy about some of his most beloved work, that Captain My Captain thing, the Dead Poets. But
Dead Poets, yeah.
there's parts of it that are just great, but I don't know if it comes all together as a movie.
Right. And it's a bit saccharine when you look back on it.
There's plenty of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's saccharine stuff from the beginning.
Yeah.
From the beginning. Like the guy brought up Garp. There's stuff in Garp that just, you know.
Right.
He just had that kind of a heart. He loved that.
And Goodwill Hunting, again, the same thing is like performance was really strong. But yeah, when you go back over that, it is like so saccharine.
Hey, David in Texas, what's up?
Oh, yes, man. I was raised on Robin. You know, even Mark and Mindy, you always look forward to seeing him on TV. And he was like a great. So to see him in a new movie, you know, even the one he did with Cuba Gooding Jr., Where Dreams Come From, that movie.
Oh, yeah.
And that death scene in that movie.
It's
That
it's another really odd
that
movie.
Robert Bigger, the way that he did it, it was phenomenal. And then when he died, it was so emotional for me because we lived with Robin Williams basically.
Yeah, there was, and you know, I mean, I think there's people that, you know, every generation connects with, but that was a big one. Who were the people that were on the show the night he died, Chris? Look that up. Here is our friend Holly. Holly, what's up?
Hey guys, I was surprised when I heard the what was his name? I forgot. Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he when he mentioned Lewy body's disease,
Yes.
I'd never heard of that before till last year. My girlfriend's sister, she's 57, and first they said it was early onset dementia, and she's been in a memory care unit since, and she's whacked out of her freaking mind. And they said that it could have been Lewy body's disease, and it's something that's a little bit newer, and it falls in a certain age range where during that time they used forceps to take babies out.
Oh.
Wow.
So that's kind of there's like been a bunch of different studies in different universities,
And I think they just squeezed the head too hard.
Oh my goodness.
I guess, and it messes up something in your chemistry, your brain chemistry.
Dude, I have a friend, and I don't know if you remember her, Denise,
Mm-hmm.
that used to work with me.
Yeah.
And they took her out with forceps and broke her nose.
Oh my God, that's
And
so
her nose
sick.
was never, like, you could touch her nose and it would just squiggle around because the first thing that she went through on this planet was someone crushing her
Ugh.
face with forceps. Fucking, you know, doctors.
Whenever you hear like that, doctors will like break a collarbone with that or something with babies too. And you're just like, you know how hard you have to do that? They have like rubbery bones.
Yeah.
It's nightmarish.
Chris, read through that list as fast. This is the people that talked to us the night that Robin died.
Jay Moore, Louis Anderson, David Steinberg, Gilbert Godfrey, Tom Papa, Reggie Watts, Bobby Slayton, Big J. Okerson, Jimmy Schubert, Justin Stengel, Richie Tinkin, Paul Provenza, Kevin Pollak, Seth Herzog, Jim Florentine, Rick Overton, George Wallace, and George Wallace.
And George Wallace twice?
There was another name twice, and George Wallace.
No, you said George Wallace twice. Then when he made another name twice, you said George Wallace and George Wallace.
And also
to
George
stop
Wallace.
yourself from saying another name twice. Hilarious.
And a different name twice.
I just felt like I had that Louis de Palma disease that they're talking about. Hey, Will, what's up?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey,
so, I wanted to point out a movie Robin Williams did early on in his career called The World According to Garp that was fantastic, that went under the radar because people didn't expect he had the dynamic range to pull off a serious role.
It's just not true. I mean, it was one of... It was like the number one book. I mean, it was a book that made the friend. And he took the heat on that movie that they did not pull off what they wanted to do. And that's where it was at the early part of his career. Like, people are like, oh, he did more, but could he do anything else? And that's what he was, somewhat jealous of, like Dan Aykroyd having those early hits, Eddie Murphy having those early hits, Bill Murray, of course.
I've never seen the movie because I read the book and had heard that, a lot of people were unhappy with the interpretation and the way that they did it, so I never watched it.
It's interesting. I mean, it's interesting. It's certainly worth watching, particularly if you didn't read the book, John Irving's book. And I never even heard John Irving comment on it. I think he was glad to get the check. Like, this is nice. Get a big check, and I didn't write the movie. But there is a part of this book where different people in his life, when they find out, and it's just David Letterman goes very deep into it. And David Letterman was on his ranch and had Bill Murray and a bunch of other friends there. And Bill Murray started hyperventilating. And they were worried that Bill Murray was having a heart attack. Now, here's like the coolest guy that we know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was the thing that I remember, that fragile feeling that we all got, that this guy who had 100 times more than successful people, you know what I mean? People would be like, well, I've been very, very lucky in this business. But you put, him up higher. And then you heard suicide. I think it got to men particularly bad. And then when you found out the reasoning behind that it wasn't some give up thing, but it was like seriously like being in a bad trip that didn't end.
Yeah. And that his fear also before that even was losing himself that way. So for that to become a reality for him, and it's just so heartbreaking.
Hey, let's go to Smiling Mike. Mike, what are you smiling about?
Bennington.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, crew. Glad to be back. I got back in after delivering some fish, and I don't know how on topic I am, but one of my favorites is Robin Williams. Back in the day, like when Delirious came out, he had that 80s stand-up routine, and it was
Delirious
on video.
was Eddie Murphy.
Sam Kinison. One of my
Delirious was
favorite-
Eddie Murphy.
Yep. Yes, but right around that time, Robin Williams also had a VHS out of his stand-up that was, he's wearing his work from work suspenders, whizzing around on the stage like on coke.
All right.
But
Thanks,
one of my
Mike.
favorite movies was
Yeah.
The Survivors.
Oh, that was a giant flop. One that almost derailed his career. That's a part of the book. Like, what the fuck was he thinking? And the thing was that he was supposed to be doing that with like Jack Nicholson and Gene Hackman, and it ended up being Jerry Reed, and I forget who the other guy is. But that's the kind of shit that happens in movies all the time.
Oh, yeah. And like, how many things probably seem like this could be okay on paper, and then you're just like, we are not pulling this off.
Or just imagine if someone came here and you were offered a movie. Oh, and then there's millions. You're like, yep.
I'll do it. I'll definitely do that.
I heard from our buddy Dennis Dugan. Did you hear from him as well?
Yeah, I did.
About his big thing?
Yes, it's so awesome. It's so exciting. He has just released a website with his art on it, and I checked it out. It's so great.
And there's going to be a one-man show this summer with him.
That's so awesome. You can check it out at DennisDuganArtist.com. He's just a really great, talented dude.
That makes me jealous, by the way. So he's doing a one-man gallery show in July in Hermosa. But I wrote back to him, well, you really get to check off all the creative boxes over your career, right? Like, because, I wish I just had slightly any artistic talent. I certainly would love to have a one-man gallery show, even if I was under any circumstance. So that's well worth. And look, you can see he's been doing it since the late '60s.
Yeah, that's
really creative people just slay me.
I know.
I'm good at a couple things. Teasing Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And then
You're so good at that, though.
I know, but
you're selling yourself short.
There's only one other thing I'm good at, and that's teasing Vito. And I'm worried that I'm a one-trick pony.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
this.
it's in the same wheelhouse, sure, but it's different. You make fun of them for different things.
Same thing. Same thing. Hey, we got a break here. We'll be back with a very special guest for Dish
It.
Bennington.
He was laughed out of the Institute, but to be fair, he was very funny that day. Hashtag Bennington.
Put on your headphones, Jen's got the news. Let's dish to the gossip they're saying on the radio.
This week's Dish segment is presented by Dish, ranked #1 in customer service nationally by J.D. Power and their customers. Dish tuned in to you. To learn more, call 1-844-CALL-DISH or go to dish.com.
I got a little dish for everybody. Remember when Jen used to dress like she was trying to get on a best dress list? I mean, the first 6 months that she worked with us was like a fashion show. And now she looks like she's taken the red eye.
It's so cold in here. I always have to bring a hoodie.
That's a lie. That's a lie. Who's your guest today, Jen?
Today I have Ian Lane.
Ian is very famous for sleeping out with Vito to get those tickets.
Yep.
And you ended up enjoying that Donald Glover show?
Oh, it was worth it. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. I don't regret any second of that whole thing.
And you really thought that I was doing a drive-by on you guys that night?
Yeah, I was. So my contacts are out. I had just woken up. And I looked over, and there's headlights in our face. And I see you leaning out the window. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It was very unclear. You don't have to explain it to me in the morning.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers!
Thank you, those are awesome.
Thank you for being here today. I got a little dish right off the bat here, and that's Vito made Eastside Dave's Shizer list, and Vito was actually called in a meme the other F word, which isn't
Oh my
done.
God.
Now, why
That's not a good idea.
Why was he calling you the other F word?
So I was supposed to
Fagala, as your people say.
I was supposed to do the Eastside Dave show last night.
Yeah.
But on Monday, I spoke to his producer, Big A, and I said, is it okay if we do this next week? I have to take care of some stuff at home. And Big A made it seem like it was no problem at all. It was fine. He said, yeah, let's just talk later in the week. And then I get a tweet with my face covered in shit yesterday saying that I've made the Shizer list and that I'm a Mexican boy band looking other F word.
Now, does that keep you from ever wanting to do the show?
Yeah.
Is this a radio war?
It's pretty fucking annoying, and he's on my list now. He's on the piss list.
Now, it's a list. People are lining up on different sides. High Society has lined up with Dave.
What? What?
Even though
I see
Chris
that as
has
a
been on the
betrayal.
Yeah. This whole thing was just a chance to say bad stuff about Chris, as it was anyway. Let's get to the actual dish. Let's dish.
Okay. So Lethal Weapon star Damon Wayans, he has slammed Clayne Crawford after they just got renewed for another third season. And it's so Wayans posted a video on his Twitter showing how he got cut on his head from like a small explosion on set. And then he tweeted, "How does shrapnel from this hit me on the opposite side of my head? Hashtag directed by Clayne Crawford."
Now, Clayne Crawford was his partner on the show?
Yes.
He's playing Mel Gibson's.
Yeah, he's playing the Mel Gibson part.
Riggs?
Yeah, Riggs. Riggs, you're not that old in this one. Riggs, you still seem pretty young and vibrant. I tried to watch this show because I was a giant Lethal Weapon fan, and this kid isn't bad. He's not Mel. But who's replacing him? It's somebody really...
Sean William Scott, right?
All right, so... Yeah, I don't see that.
Yeah.
It's weird. They're making him not Riggs, but like Riggs' younger brother or something like that. They have to write
Little
the original
Riggs.
character.
Little Riggs.
Younger, yeah.
Because you can't not say Riggs. I mean, he is called Riggs in this, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because you like that's 90% of the movie for me.
they really-
Riggs.
And then I had heard before that some other show was waiting to see if this show got picked up or whether they were going to be picked up or not. So
Right.
this time of the year is always weird. It's always weird. They were just running the TBS stuff today. Go over to the iBang. They had their upfronts. And upfronts used to be the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah, I remember that being a lot more talked about.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know. I don't think they're introducing a new sitcom this year. That's where we are in TV.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, again, it just also because there's so much original content on Netflix, and it's just like maybe a new, like it always feels like we have new series. You know,
Yeah,
there's
but-
always a new series that we're supposed to be watching.
That other people aren't watching.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
that is the annoying
it
thing.
used to come out and everybody's like, "Did you see that show last night?" And now people are like, "Nah, I don't get Hulu. Is it good?" Real
Great.
good.
You need to get it along with
Real good.
everything else.
Or somebody will just be like, "Oh man, I'm watching Justified." You're just like, "From what? 7 years ago?"
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, I can't discuss this with you.
And then that is the difficult thing because someone who watched it in real time, then you want to say like, okay, so in the third season, in the second episode, and they're like, I don't remember
I don't
any
know
of
any of
that.
that, yeah.
I don't remember. Now, don't tell me
Riggs.
what happens in the fourth season. I can't remember what happened when.
So I predict this, like Kevin Can Wait, is just a chance for them to act like, "Oh, we're going to reboot this thing and make it work better," but it
Right.
won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And by the way, I saw the last Kevin Can Wait that they ever did. Chris Rock, we might just be thinking that he's cool all these years, and he's just not at all.
You mean like he's actually nerdy?
He's a nerd, I
yeah.
think.
Yeah.
That could be.
I think that that's probably true. There is something a little bit like
Well, he was a nerd on the show back in the Everybody Hates Chris. Was
Yeah.
this character pretty nerdy?
Yeah, I never
yeah,
saw
I feel
it.
like he must have been. Everyone
I didn't
hated
even like
him.
the title. Made me sad, like that everybody hated a little kid. I can't watch bad stuff happening to little kids. I just can't do it. I can't watch a thing where like a little kid is thrown in the back of a van or.
I know. There's
I
movies.
still haven't seen The Room.
I know. There's movies too that you've said like, am I not going to like this because? And I'm like, I don't want to spoil anything, but no, don't see it then
Yes.
because it goes against everything you want to see
I
in a
don't
movie.
want to see a little kid hurt.
He doesn't want to see a child in peril.
I think a lot of it has to do that I was kidnapped and raped as a kid. And that kind of comes as a trigger thing for me.
Oh my God, people are so sensitive with what triggers them
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I know. I'm a snowflake. Because I'll see one of those movies and I'll yell out in the theater, "Oh yeah, that's right, I was raped too." People are like, "Shh." Yeah,
Oh my God,
that's
everything
bad.
has to be so PC.
Yeah, that's my fault. That's my fault. Vito, how are you going to get even with Eastside Dave?
I got
Make
that.
up a meme about him?
Yeah, he's on my piss list.
I know,
And-
but you got to put it out.
I don't want to like. I don't want to change what you're going for, but don't you think like shit is worse than piss?
Yeah, it
and
is.
like a piss list is not as bad as a Shizer list.
Maybe you need an AIDS cum list.
See, this is why you spitball things around with your friends.
Yeah, you got to spitball a little bit. All right, throw some things against the wall. See if they stick like that shit stuck to your face on that meme.
It was infuriating to see.
I know it pissed me off too, but I did give it a like. I'd never seen anything like that. It reminded me like if Vito was in Garbage Pail Kids.
No, I'm so not used to Vito being in that position that when I initially saw it, I thought that they had accidentally thought that a picture of Chris, like they were trying to get a picture of Chris and they put Vito up. And I'm like, surely no one's mad at, this is directed at Vito. He is on the Shizer list.
And I was just lied to. I was told everything was fine. So to find out via Twitter that I'm a fucking...
Would you be willing to box Big A?
Oh my God. I'll box Big A. I'll box Eastside Dave. I'll box anybody from that staff.
Well, don't go off the rails. Just stay with
just
the
one person.
premise that's up there.
Yeah, me and Big A.
It's too late.
Put us in a ring.
Dish.
Dish it.
Dish.
Old sweatshirt.
So TMZ caught Martha Stewart walking out of ABC Studios, and they informed her that Gail King, who's Oprah's best friend, revealed that she's dabbled in a little Mary Jane every now and then, and Martha was shocked to hear that Oprah smoked weed before.
Yes, Oprah loves weed.
Oh, yeah.
She loves it.
Why wouldn't she?
Smoking now. What do you recommend?
Oprah's what?
She's smoking now.
Smoking what? Cigarettes?
Weed. No, weed.
Weed?
Why would these guys say this to her?
The end of Oprah.
No. What do you recommend as the expert?
Malta.
She's
Can I get a quick picture?
Thank you. What do you bake during a getting baked party? When you and Snoop are together. What's on the menu?
I do the bacon, he does the smoking. Can we get a quick picture, Martha?
Why did they force other celebrities to comment on other celebrities? That's my least
That's all
favorite
people,
part.
and that's all they are, really.
And her face was like, "What?
She could care less.
Oprah
Yeah.
smoking."
What do you think about Marilyn Marcos' dad? He's in again, he's out again, he's in again. What's going on there? By the way, she used to work here. She used to have a thing right next to us.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't here all the time. Her daughter was. But every time Martha was here, the whole place was thrilled.
Yeah.
It was like, Martha's here.
People love Martha.
People love Martha. Of course, nobody was bigger than when Oprah came here. We used to have the Oprah channel too. And when she came here, and as far as I know, she only was in this building once since I've been here.
Yeah.
They gave her own special elevator. And she had an elevator guy like it was the 1930s. And he took it up and just stood in the elevator and waited for her to come
my
out.
God.
And I'm like, that's a fucking star.
Did she make sure that person was white? Like reverse the roles?
Yes, it was. It's very interesting that because I tried to get in the elevator and it was a white guy. He goes like this elevator's being saved for Oprah. I got a jobs to do. And I'm like, what's your name? It was Catfish. Which reverse racism. Yeah. But that day, Oprah dropped a potato chip that she was eating. It was bit into, and I picked it up. I forget who I gave it to. Was it Dave?
It was Dave, yeah.
And he saved it forever.
It got very moldy, but it was there for a while.
Called the Oprah chip.
That's worth money. 100%. That's worth money.
I know. I just licked where she bit. Is that weird?
You have powers now? Yeah. Oprah powers now.
Oprah powers. Dish.
Dish it.
Back. You're back, Vito. I love it.
Yeah.
So Justin Theroux,
Oh, boy.
Jennifer Aniston's ex, he is now dating a black girl. Her name is Erica Cardenas. She's
an odd thing to say. I mean, it's
I'm gonna be honest,
2018.
this is none of my business. I mean, I know it's celebrity gossip, but a black?
She's like
adorable.
19 though.
She's 25.
She actually does really look like she could be his daughter. That's really the.
Damn.
Yeah, but he's look at the watch, just holding that up all day.
Is that better than Jennifer Aniston though?
Well, here's the thing: they say that everybody thought that he was too shitty for Jennifer Aniston. That his whole attitude was shitty, and his apartment wasn't nice. And she likes nice
She
apartments.
does nice things.
Yeah, she likes nice things. She likes to flip houses.
I mean, she used to live in Monica's apartment. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Her standards are high.
He's a cool dude. I'm not mad at him. I like
Look at his cool shirt. He's got
he's wearing a great
shirt.
Easy, you know. It's kind of saying that he's pro AIDS.
That's weird.
Ian just brought up to me the other day randomly. He goes, "Do you think Justin Theroux's hot?" I think he's pretty hot.
He's a good looking dude, man.
But he
He's
came out of
always
nowhere.
ripped. It did come out of nowhere.
Well, he's got to be a good looking dude. He was with Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Certain
I would definitely.
And
put him
who
in
was
that
he? Was he
category.
with any other celebrities before that? Give me the who's dating who, Chris, on Justin Theroux. He's also a pretty funny guy when he does comedies. Look how long it takes. Oh no!
Oh,
looks like
Yeah, I
veto
think it was
toys.
Heidi Bevins and Jennifer Aniston's the only people on
No,
this
I
list.
put up this new girl. Be the
Yeah.
one who puts it up.
Who's
But that's Zimbio. You're not even doing the WDW.
That one has also Petra Collins, but that's it.
Oh, good. Oh, all right. Good for him. I hear he doesn't keep his apartment very nice, though. Inquiring minds want to know.
I hear he's dating a black girl.
That'd be like the creepiest gossip show. I heard. Who's dating black people tonight at 7?
Interracial scandal tonight.
All right, good for him.
Yeah, she's cute. I like her hair.
I'll say this
Good
though.
style.
I like the Easy shirt, and I'll say this. I agree with Easy why the police always fucking with me. I think bitches with problems should be remembered more. It was a really, really nice girl group version of NWA. Very short career. Dish.
Dish it.
Dish.
I thought we'd have upgraded dishes from last week.
I'm waiting on Bobby to send me some stuff because I couldn't run out the studio last week.
Couldn't run out the studio.
Oh boy.
I actually had isolated stuff from him personally in a studio to record that.
Ah, that's dull. Dish.
Dish.
So Jennifer Lawrence had to wait for a table at the Brooklyn hotspot, Lilia. A spy said that she came in and exited super quickly, and that she came back in 10 minutes, 10 minutes later, and then she swiftly ducked back to the back table by the cafe, and then she had to wait another 30 minutes for her table before she was finally seated.
Well, here's the thing. I have a table there at all times.
Really?
I wish you would have let me know.
She should have. But I hear their wait staff and their hostesses are crazy there.
Is that right?
They're crazed.
A girl I met on Tinder actually works there. Or at least she did work there as of a year
I was trying not to do that to her.
Which one?
Mr. Big is how we referred to her.
You remember Mr. Big?
Well, you tell Mr. Big that when J-Log comes in, let her go
J-Log.
completely in.
Drops a J-Log.
Now, is this news that she got there and all the tables were packed? Because, if all your tables are packed, I don't care if the president shows up. Where are you going to put him?
Yeah, there's nothing.
You can't have another table.
It's a little different, I feel, than what the West Coast standard is. Because I think that there's a certain standard on the West Coast where it's like you have to kind of have room for big drop-ins.
Oh, yeah.
Where New York just doesn't roll like that, and they're gonna obviously, if they see some VIP type personality, they're gonna try to accommodate. But we have very limited space here.
Yeah.
But no one really cares about Jennifer Lawrence anymore, right? Do we
I
care?
don't.
No,
I don't like
Done
her
with
at all. I don't even like her as a person.
Yeah, I think the buzz is over.
Yeah.
Certainly for me, it was a long time ago.
I would say this, and I don't think that we should take celebrity that make it that important. But if she was here right now, I'd cut her fingers off with a hatchet.
Oh my God! So you really
That's how
don't
much
like
I
her.
dislike her. Don't like her at all. There used to be this thing in New York called Spy Magazine, and they would do a bit where they would call the hot restaurant, and they would say, "Yes, Jennifer Aniston's assistant, can I get in tonight?" and then they would call as a lesser celebrity and find out whether that person could get in. And it was always fucking hilarious.
Oh
It was
my
the
God.
meanest thing. This person didn't do anything to deserve that. And you would find out who was hot and who was not.
That is so cruel.
It was fucking just a panic, though. And they were like, I can get you in 2 weeks. Patsy Weber. Dish.
Come on, bitch. Let's make this happen.
Dish.
So Willow Smith was on her mom Jada's Facebook series, Red Table Talk, and Jada asked her about her biggest loss. And Willow talked about how she lost her sanity when Whip My Hair came out and that she started cutting her wrist when she was
What?
She
That was
told her
such a
mother
good-
that?
Yes,
What?
and her mom was really shocked because she never heard it before. So it was a very
Wait, how
touchy
old was
moment.
she during
Yeah, she was,
Whip My Hair?
She was 17.
Oh, I thought she was younger than that.
She's like
13.
17 now. Yeah.
I whip my hair back and forth. I whip my hair back and forth.
There's no reason to cut yourself over that song. The song was awesome.
Look, those
Yeah,
Smiths.
look at she's a baby.
Those Smiths are one movie role away from being the Kardashians.
It's true.
She was 9 with my hair.
Yeah, nine.
See, this is how guys get in trouble. All of a sudden, I thought she was 17.
Cutting your wrist is a very white thing to do, though. Black kids don't cut their wrists.
Is that right? I'm trying to think of one.
Yeah.
Black
Of all the
people don't
cutters
know.
I've known, they've usually been sensitive white boys or most white girls.
Well, they grew up rich. They grew up in what, Beverly Hills or whatever.
Yeah.
With dad.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I
got
don't know.
black
I don't think
people
if any of my black friends have ever said, "Oh, I used to cut."
Well, I think black people, when they're unhappy, they just get shot by the cops. So we don't really have the same
Right,
thing going
sure.
on. Now, did she say I sliced my wrist like I tried to kill myself, or I was just a cutter?
I believe she said she was just a cutter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But let's
So you shouldn't
hate
say
that.
wrist then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they do.
But it
But,
was
they
on her
do.
wrist.
But they do that there. I think because it's visually dramatic.
Dude, there was a time that these listeners used to hang out with us sometimes, and they came to me. A couple of them came to me, and they said that this guy was cutting. So I just walked over and I said, "What are you doing, man?" And I pulled his thing up, and he was scratching. It looked like he just-
Kitty cat scratches.
Yeah, I'm like, that's just a scratch. You're fine. You're not even slicing.
Just stop doing that.
Yeah.
It could get infected.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah. So, and what is her mom doing?
Her mom does a Facebook Live TV show.
Oh yeah,
kind of
the
thing? Like a stream.
the
Yeah.
Fish Mahoney show. I watch it sometimes. Yeah, I made her do all that just so I could do my stupid joke. I always thought that the Smiths and their children were the most confident people I've ever seen in my life.
Probably are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were raised with
We've
with-
got it all.
Yeah.
They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
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 And that's because Will said, I have no talent. Look how far I went with it.
Yeah. And like remember when Jaden was like wearing dresses and stuff and everyone was like, is Jaden transitioning? What's going on? And he's just like, no, I'm just like allowed to do whatever I want. I'm still a guy.
It's weird. And it's still like
awesome.
we haven't been able to figure out if Will Smith is a Scientologist or not. So I'm trying to like, does that have a part to do with it or?
Yeah, I mean, some of that, but the guy had a #1 hit on the day that he graduated from high school, from public school. He had the
Right.
#1 hit in the country.
So wild.
So just everyone else is like, I don't know what school I'm going to. And he's like, well, I got this deal for a show. I'm probably going to go out to LA and do that. Like he was not a show business kid.
Right.
No.
He just
So
got,
wild.
after he graduates from public school in West Philadelphia, where you're not even
Born and
supposed to get out of. You're not even supposed to get out of it.
No.
You know what I mean? Like most people are like, we took a vacation last year to Camden. You know what I mean? Like that's their dreams. And he had the #1 hit.
Yeah, that's
wild.
it's really crazy.
Yeah.
But so he doesn't say that he's a Scientologist. People just assume that he
Well,
is.
yeah, he hung around with Tom Cruise for a while, and he's definitely.
They think he might have dabbled.
Yeah, he dabbled. He took some classes. A lot of people did, though. Jerry Seinfeld took Scientology classes.
Really?
Yeah. They're like, what's the deal thing? And he said it was very helpful. He said he enjoyed it. He enjoyed his Scientology classes.
I learned a lot.
Spit it up, you Dr. Good Pepper.
So Nikki Bella and John Cena might be getting back together because he went on the Today Show with Kathy Lee Gifford and Hoda and confessed that he now wants children to make Nikki happy. And then Nikki has responded that John is really the love of her life.
Okay.
What?
This doesn't seem like a public conversation.
Yeah, what the fuck are they doing?
Why are you saying this publicly?
That's worse than on Twitter.
It's just they're now having storylines in real life.
It's 100%.
Could that be it?
They have a fucking reality show, and they said this whole season on the reality show is going to be all based about the breakup, and now they're getting back together.
What the fuck?
Somebody told me that she was seen with Marty Jannetty. Is that true?
What channel does this show come on?
It's on E.
Oh my
god. Oh, E.
Fuck.
I do like that like velour jumpsuit that she's wearing. It's very sexy in that photo.
And you say, yeah, she's sexy. There's no doubt about it. And he's going to do a great job as the Riddler next season. I want to see E, but I have a smaller cable package. I only go to D. So hopefully, if a couple things work out for me.
He's so weird looking, man.
Yeah, he is.
The shape of his head always scared me.
Well, did you ever see Trainwreck when he's on top of Amy Schumer naked, and it looks like she's getting banged by a shaved ape?
Yeah,
I mean, he
he's
just
so
looks like a
huge.
gorilla.
I know. She looks so tiny.
Yeah, she was so tiny underneath him, getting rammed. All right. I guess. Do you think it's all fake? I mean, you follow wrestling, Vito. Was it fake?
I think it's all fake. I think it's just for these reality shows they do because they want people to watch Total Bellas.
That's so
Which is a spin-off of Total Divas. They have 2 fucking reality shows based on the female wrestlers.
That is
I didn't know any of
whack.
that. Yeah, I didn't know any of that.
And some of them stay in character on the show. And some of them don't. It's really weird.
So is John Cena on the show, or does he like pop in?
Yeah, he's on the show. He's like he's not a great boyfriend. He like made her sign a contract to move in with him. He's treated her pretty poorly. Never wanted kids. I followed the first.
And now
few
he's
seasons.
saying the exact
Now
opposite.
he's like,
But
I
it's
love
not
Nikki.
real.
Yeah.
The contract isn't real that she signed. I saw Bobby Heenan sign a contract. None of that stuff was real.
What about the fight they got into at the end of it, where she went through the table?
She had a loser leave town marriage.
Well, it's all on E, so it's all Kardashian run and Ryan
Yeah.
Seacrest and shit. So yeah, that all starts to make sense.
Ryan Seacrest seems like he got out of his Me Too moment.
did.
Right?
Now,
Yeah.
you think he Seacrest his way out of it?
I Seacrest out.
Yeah.
I think he was too valuable to ABC
Wow.
and E to get rid of.
Oh shit.
You know what I mean? I think it's when you're not valuable. By the way, Aziz was back and doing
At the Cellar, right?
at the Cellar,
Yeah.
and it hasn't gotten a lot of press. You think it would have, but I'm wondering if this is opening the doors for other people
Yes.
in the comedy world.
It's very possible.
I always thought that
It is.
Louis could be the one that could get back, though.
Yeah.
I think Louis can make it back. I hope he does.
Well, Louis is the only one we want to see come back. I think Aziz could take another year and a half.
Yeah.
Everyone else were like monster, and they're
Yeah.
like, but Louis, Louis funny.
It would be.
so-
I mean, how do you come back from that heckle if you're Aziz? Rapist! You rape! He's just standing there
like shit.
His little mic is trembling.
So Cardi B had to had to put out a statement saying that she's not obligated to take fan photos after a fight broke out a little over a month ago at a Vegas mall with her and a fan that was asking for a selfie, and it just shows in the video her and the other lady yelling at screaming at each other.
Oh my god.
All right, let's see.
Is
Who is he?
Is she fighting a dude? Is that
No, he's holding the
bag. The chick,
Yeah.
see there in the striped shirt, she's getting upset because Cardi B won't take a picture with her.
And this is in Vegas, you said?
Yeah, at a
Vegas
mall.
mall.
Yeah.
You should have let them fight.
I think she has one of the most best dressed security guys I ever saw. That's a great look all the way around.
Yeah, he looks
everything
pretty good.
about him I'm a fan of.
He's a very stylish guy.
Yeah.
And very gentle when he moves ladies out of the way
He cares.
from fighting Cardi B.
All right, I'm going to say this: within 9 months, no one's going to ask you for another selfie anyway, Cardi B.
I disagree. I disagree.
She's not going to make it through the summer. I
No,
fucking hate her.
no way.
I can't
I
stand her,
disagree so strongly with both of you guys. She's fucking amazing.
Yeah, but we're going to find someone new. Someone's going to pop up.
Yeah,
on
but
the
we always
show.
find someone new. With like pop and stuff like that. Like, yes, there's going to be a new somebody.
Yes, there will be, but I don't think Cardi has a follow-up song. I think it's done. I think this is it for her.
Album was good.
I
Her
don't
whole
know.
album
That
was
I
good.
don't know. That I don't know. I only heard the one song, and that's because of you. I wouldn't have heard any of it. I know when
And I
was.
heard that because of Jen.
I know I was on stage one night and did a She Got Buddy shoes, and everyone just looked at me. I go, really? And then I thought, oh, this crowd's much older.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, if you ask nicely for a picture with Cardi, you might get it. So maybe you didn't do it right.
Oh, yeah, that's how Gail announced her pregnancy by
Yes.
being
I
next
saw
to
that.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by
Thank
the way.
you. Thanks so much. I was wondering when you were going to bring it up.
Yeah.
Well, there's a long story behind that, I think.
Why? What happened?
You're the dad?
Vito told you not to say it?
I think that's what happened. Is that?
No, when we went to the movie,
Yeah,
I
Ready
said
Player
don't
One.
say anything.
Why?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't announced yet, so I felt weird about it.
But this
and
is
I was
someone I know
mad,
in
yeah.
real life in person. I'm not going to be walking around.
So
Not to
then-
mention, I think I showed up and immediately was like, I have to pee super bad.
And then when I told you that, I told you that he didn't want to say anything. You were
Yeah.
pissed at me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just weird.
Should be.
You fucked up, Vito.
Yeah, Vito, you never do the right thing.
No.
Baby gift.
You could do a sequel called Do the Wrong Thing.
The Italian side of the movie.
They said at Cannes, Spike Lee got like a 10-minute fucking applause break when
Really?
that movie was over. Can't wait to see it.
I'm very excited.
Who's all in it, Vito? Because there's some big names in it.
Adam
Yeah.
Driver's in it.
All right.
They
He's
said
in
it's his best
everything.
thing since Inside Man. It's
Yeah.
been a while.
He's so great, though. I mean, I don't know if anybody. Let's take a look at some of this.
John David Washington.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's a dude
Topher
from
Grace.
your show on HBO, Vito.
Oh, is that Insecure?
No, fucking Oh no, it was. Yeah.
Harry Belafonte's in it.
Yeah.
What? I didn't know he was alive.
Laura,
Oh,
yeah.
wonderful news.
That's Denzel's kid.
Where's
Topher
Denzel?
Grace. get
John
into-
John David Washington is Ballers. He's Denzel's son.
from Ballers. Yeah.
Really?
His son in real life.
He's his son, and he's Denzel's son in real life. Yeah,
Let me see him.
He was the one that was playing football.
yeah. Rock's best.
You
athlete
literally
friend.
just
The
click his
first
name.
one on the top.
Yeah.
I don't think he doesn't really look like.
No.
Look, he still has position running back, even though he's an actor now. That's kind of odd. What are you playing in the film? A running back.
Position, running back, and lead role.
Jesus Jr. I wonder if Spike will come back in here. We haven't seen him in a while.
I know. That would be great.
I love Spike. Dash.
Oh my God. Speed it up, you ugly tofek. What's that mean? Who gives a shit? Just say things. Dash.
So, a man was accused of breaking into Rihanna's home.
We have to guess who he is. I'm going to say Will Smith.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
His name is Eduardo Leon.
Oh, I should
Eduardo.
have guessed that.
Yeah.
He was he broke in because he said that he wanted to have sex with her, not rape her, and he's being charged with stalking, burglary, and vandalism.
No, that's not how it works.
Can I just tell you this? I think they're perfect for each other.
I just
I think-
simply wanted to have sex with her, officer.
Yes.
This
Yeah, that's
headline.
why you're
Yes.
under arrest.
I was- but wait, officer, wait. It was anal. I was interested in anal.
This changes nothing.
It's hard when you like someone so much and they don't know it. So you have to
Right.
do something desperate like this.
Sure.
Break
and
into
like-
their house.
And then women find that romantic.
Is there any truth to the rape fantasy?
What is the truth? What do you mean?
Like women
People do
in
it?
like relationships, like, oh, I want you to just bust in the house one day and rape me. But then if it's not rape, if
No, I think we should discuss it. I'll say this:
rape fantasy.
the only way that I ever have sex is with a knife in my mouth,
Crawling up the bed
like a pirate. It's more of a pirate thing.
Oh yeah, everyone has that fantasy.
See, here's the operative word there. Fantasy. You can play any game you want.
The problem is Rihanna's not in on this rape fantasy.
Right, of course.
But I thought you said you had a rape fantasy. No, this is a rape reality. That's what I have the problem with. Rape fantasy, I'm fine with. But the ladies did not answer you. It made for a very uncomfortable lady.
I mean, I have heard that.
What
but-
about you? Have you heard it from
No.
yourself?
I would not. That is not. That is like no.
Maybe some people
That's
are
not my
into it.
fantasy.
You're dressed right now like you have a rugby fantasy. Chris, you remember how she used to dress? It was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
It's rainy out. It's rainy out. It's kind of cold.
Exactly.
You're good.
You know, we're like 20 degrees colder today than yesterday.
Yes, we
And
dropped
yesterday
20
was
degrees.
20 degrees hotter than the day before.
Yeah.
We can't live
This
like
is why people get sick.
Yeah.
This is why I feel so gross right now.
When I was coming in today, I saw 5 dead bodies just stacked up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 5 dead
Did
bodies.
you stop or tell anyone? Or?
I never stop. I did pull off one person's boots because I needed boots. It's like The Road. Vito, did you like the movie The Road?
I never saw it.
You should. You remind me of the little kid in that.
Traumatizing movie.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
another one of those bad little kid movies.
I actually, I read the book and that was like trauma enough.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Chris, you have a rape fantasy, right? But it is also with a child.
No children involved.
I don't know.
No, yes, you know. There's no children.
Yeah, but it seems like you would do that
No.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that.
and might have done it in the past.
No, I never have. Everything's consensual with everyone and all adults.
But then, don't you think that that's where his fear of children comes from? I mean, he has a fear
He's
of
afraid he's
children.
going to do something.
Yeah, he's
he's afraid of being alone with a child but it's the same way some people are afraid to walk over a bridge because they'll jump.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Like he's afraid of what he's capable of. Probably.
Yes, he's afraid the way the wolf man tries to tie himself up every full moon.
I'm not even kidding. This is not an exaggeration. One time we were outside. We were in our little smoke spot out front, and there was these kids, and they were running around. And this one little boy was running past, and he kept running really close to Chris. And I heard him literally go like this. And I was like, "That's weird. Why? It's just a child." And he's
What
like,
is
"He's
it?
getting very
Yeah.
close. I don't want him so close."
I saw Chris going through a playground, and he put a Pez dispenser in his zipper and was just dropping off little pieces of candy. I thought that was odd. I thought that was odd.
I mean, I don't want to blame you, but it just seems like you should have stopped him instead of just watching him go.
I would have, but it was holding an ice cream cone. And I've lost too many ice cream cones over the years to risk another one. Lately I've been into, cups. I think I might go back to cone for 2018.
Really?
Yeah, I think
That's
this might be the
big.
summer of the ice cream cone.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels crazy.
You know what? Do you? You know what I mean? Like
YOLO. Laurel.
What is the deal with that?
Yeah,
That's
go
all.
ahead and play it.
Just
Just tell us what you hear.
Laurel. Laurel.
Laurel.
Laurel.
Laurel, clearly.
What do you hear, Jen?
Laurel.
You hear Laurel too?
What you hear?
I don't.
What do you hear?
Yanny. It's still Yanny for me. I'll never change.
This is like the fucking gold and blue dress
It is.
thing all over
Yeah.
again, right?
Go ahead and play it.
Laurel. Laurel. Laurel.
That time I heard like a stab, Chris. Stab.
Okay.
I just heard Laurel before for the first time. Then on the first one, I heard Yanni, and then and in the same thing, it switched.
You're having a stroke, dude.
No, that's the worst place to be. Those people who live on the edge, like I'd honestly, As much as I don't understand you Laurel people, I'd rather be one of you than one of these people who's just living in a weird world of in between.
Vito's on the lip of the volcano right now.
That really just fucked with me.
Yeah.
What does it mean if you hear Yanny? Are you?
Well, first I thought it had to do with your ears, because they're obviously playing two things at the same time. Now, why they choose Laurel and Yanny?
Couldn't they have
two
picked-
words? Yeah. Why couldn't they put Harry
Yeah.
and Pete? But now some people are telling us it's like the way your brain perceives things,
Huh.
which
Right.
I don't like at all.
So
I want everyone's brain to
even after-
perceive. Yeah.
Even after someone called and said that, now I'm listening for Laurel. I'm aware. I'm aware of where Laurel is supposed to be heard, and I still can't hear it. And that, but there's what he said is that you're taking out the noise that you don't perceive as important to you.
Okay.
So you're just filtering out ambient sound.
your brain
So you're
wants to
filtering out Yanny. I'm filtering out Laurel.
Do you
I don't
know
like.
anyone named Yanny?
No.
Has there ever been a Yanny in your life?
Giannis Pappas.
Right. I sometimes call him
No.
Yanny.
Chris has had this problem, and you've even been to classes for it. He hears "please don't" as "fuck me," "fuck me."
Okay.
So,
not woke.
Can't get out of it.
Not woke.
You can't get out of it. What does that mean?
I can't hear what should hear.
What?
How do you say things like that? You just took a bunch of words, put them in a hat, and threw them down on the table. I can't get out of it. Huh? Play it one more time.
Laurel. Laurel. Laurel.
I'm trying so hard.
No.
You can't hear Laurel at all.
I really want to hear it, but I can't. I'm strictly. And by the way, the weird thing is the tonality. You're hearing like a low,
Yeah.
like something that sounds.
Are you hearing like a?
It's like Yanny, Yanny.
That sounds weird.
Yanny.
That's like if you're younger. This used to happen to me a lot. I'll just be walking around and hear like a high pitched, like a noise, and my
Yeah.
dad would be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And I'd be
That's not good.
Yeah, thought I was dying.
Now, when I listen to the Bonfire, I only hear Big J. I don't hear the other guy at all. And that's because I just turn my radio down back and forth. Dish.
This week's Dish segment is presented by Dish, ranked number 1 in customer service nationally by J.D. Power and their customers. Dish tuned into you. To learn more, call 1-844-CALL-DISH or go to dish.com.
So we got more?
We do. Yes. This is the last dish of the day.
No.
Oh, God damn it.
Just getting into it.
Yeah. And Chris, you don't have a plug for Ian?
I do not have a plug for you. I do not. No.
Ian Lane, you can follow him on Instagram at iLegend. Yes.
iLegend, like the movie?
I Legend,
that's
but
right.
not am.
Yeah.
It's just I Legend.
It used to be I N Legend.
Yeah.
It's like just change the M for an N. People thought I couldn't.
Did you like that movie?
I did. I'm a huge Will Smith guy. It's one of my first man crushes. So,
What is your favorite Will Smith?
my favorite Will Smith probably Bad Boys 2.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to say, I thought he was amazing in 6 Degrees.
Really?
Yeah, I love that movie a lot more than obviously everyone else on the planet. Vito, what's your favorite Will Smith?
I think it's Men in Black.
1, 2, or 3?
Just one.
Okay.
Remember?
Yeah.
I guess I'll go with Welcome to Earth.
Oh, yeah, I
That should
forgot
have been
that
the title
one.
of it. I should have just changed it to that.
Yeah. Remember that time that his wife was here doing stuff for something and then he was just sitting waiting for her in our lobby.
Will Smith was?
Yeah,
No,
and it was
Really?
just like Will Smith's in the lobby like a normal person.
On his phone.
Just waiting for my
Just
wife.
fucking around on his phone.
I remember, now this is like a Laurel and Yanny thing.
Yeah.
It was like everybody said, like, people used to quote that movie and they'd be like, Welcome to Earth. And so everyone would be like, oh, Welcome to Earth. So like that became a thing, like, Welcome to Earth. But then somebody was like, dude, that's so racist. If you listen to it, he literally says Earth. Like, he does not say
Like they
Earth.
said that he said
and so
that by
then I like
mistake?
went back and like watched it and I was like, oh God, this is horrible. Like, I've been perpetuating
Yeah,
this.
the racism.
Like, Welcome to Earth. He does not say Earth. He clearly says Earth.
And then when people were making fun of him, he was just stacking up money one after the other,
Yeah,
as high as he could.
He's good. He's good.
Jen, you got a favorite Will Smith?
I forget what it's called, but it's the one with his little son.
Pursuit of
Oh, yeah, Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah.
That was almost a Robin Williams sensitive
same
type.
vibe.
Yeah.
That was the first time I saw my dad cry. He took me and my brother to that.
Yeah.
And we're in there in the bathroom, and he has to keep that door shut with his foot. I was like,
Yeah.
Dad was like, oh, fuck.
And supposedly that thing happened. First time I saw my dad cry is when I hit him on the fingers with a hatchet. I don't know why, though. That's the thing that gets to me. No, Will Smith is, if you look back now how long he's been a movie star, it's a hell of a run.
Yeah.
Hell of a run.
Absolutely.
No one said Independence Day, which I kind of feel.
That was mine.
Oh, that was yours?
Welcome to Earth.
Oh, I didn't know that that was it.
Yeah.
See, I don't go online. I don't go
It was in the
online.
movie.
Hold on. Adrian, what's up?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, about hearing things that other people might not hear, there's a game called Mortal Kombat 3. One of the characters is Liu Kang. He does this bicycle kick sound that to me, and nobody else hears it, he says, "You're the only one with a dildo in your butt," real fast.
I don't think that's true.
That's in your mind, bro.
You got to play less games. Todd in Jersey.
Hey, Ron. Hey, Gail.
Hey.
Congratulations, Gail, on your
Oh,
pregnancy.
thank you so much.
So, Ron,
Glad Vito said you could say it.
I was talking about that Laurel thing. Basically, if you go onto YouTube, you can find basically clips of like different tones, and as you get older, the younger you are, certain tones you'll be able to hear, but as you get older...
That was my initial thing, though, because in our family, it divided that way. But you see here today,
I know
these are two young people,
Yeah.
and they're not hearing the higher tone.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. This whole goddamn thing is some kind of sign of the end times.
It's tearing us apart, Lisa.
John, Castle Rock.
Here, Ronnie, is this like a left brain dominant, right brain dominant? Because Gail seems very flowery and can probably draw a picture of a puppy where, because I'm hearing Laurel. You know.
She is a snowflake, and she doesn't.
You know what? I don't want to be treated wrong just because I'm a Yanny. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking 2018 and the Yannies should be able to live free.
Here's the thing. Gail doesn't hate women or minorities, so she's what I call a snowflake. And I want to build that wall and lock her up.
Me?
Yeah.
And the rest of the Yannies.
Yeah. And now I'm back to bombing Korea. I was yelling Nobel for a while. Did you see that he backed out?
Really?
Little Rocket Man
Wow.
said, look, we're
see
not giving up our nukes.
Really?
We like them.
And that, the whole point, there's like, dude, we're meeting so that you won't have nukes. He goes, I love them.
He's like, the first thing you think of with North Korea,
Yeah.
nukes.
He goes,
You
if I have
can't
nukes, then I can shoot them at your country.
Oh, God.
Hey, Will in Michigan. Will.
Hi.
Yeah. My worst thing.
Hello?
Hey. Yes, we're all here.
Will, we can hear you.
Okay, sir. Okay. Congratulations, Gail.
Oh, thank you, Will.
And just to let you know, I always loved your laugh ever since I've heard it.
Oh, everyone loves their laugh.
And on the Robbins Williams thing, I just wanted to state that I'm 48 and going on 49. I've only cried 3 times in my life. That's when Freddie Mercury died, my grandfather died, and Robin Williams died.
Well, here's the thing. My grandfather was Freddie Mercury, so
it's just one.
Just put the one in. Hey, are you looking forward to this Freddie Mercury movie?
Yes, I am.
Have you seen the trailer?
No, I haven't seen the trailer.
Yeah, it's on.
looks great.
Yeah, people are excited about it. Yeah, I know we were all choked up when Robin
Oh,
Williams
yeah.
died.
Absolutely.
And I remember I came here and I was like I said, right next door. I'm like, oh man, we're going to go right on the air right away and do this. And Chris was using our studio for High Society
Oh my God.
And-
On Robin Williams?
Yeah.
We didn't know it was
And Fez had jumped. Yes, you did. You knew by the time I got here that it was because I was in the movie the whole. There were some of the people, and Fez had jumped on a train and went home.
Oh,
I'm like, we had done the David Brenner thing. Why wouldn't we do it for Robin Williams? It was a sad day.
Yeah, it was
It was
really
a
sad.
sad day. That's when men, boys, and then we ended up calling ourselves Boys to Men.
That's the beginning.
Let's try to guess who Vito cried. What celebrity made Vito cry the most when he died? And I'm going to say, I think I got this, Mario Lanza. He was a great Italian from the 1940s. Who do you think it is, Gail?
I'm gonna say it was probably a wrestler. I'm
That's
gonna
sad.
say
Definitely.
maybe like Macho Man is gonna be.
I was going to say Mabel Doink.
Oh, no.
Ian, what do you got for him?
The best of the doinks.
Chris Benoit.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
I cried for his family.
Yeah, family.
Jen, what do you got?
I mean, I'm just gonna say a singer, Michael Jackson, because everybody cried for him.
Yeah.
I was with somebody who was like, yeah, but he hasn't been good in a while.
Oh my
And
god.
I was shaken to my core when Michael
He's a human
Jackson.
man.
And he goes, yeah, but it's been a long time since he's done anything good.
Nah.
Chris.
James Gandolfini.
Ooh.
Nice.
Only slightly racist, but probably accurate.
Thank you.
Do you know that I saw that somebody had turned that role down and I never had heard this before? The role was offered to Ray Liotta.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
Ray Liotta. Would have been a totally different show.
Yeah.
But he would have been like, Karen, you're my therapist.
That was all my money, Karen.
Vito, and by the way, this would be a great new game show that we could play with celebrities. Whose death shook you the most?
It's depressing.
It was Eddie Guerrero.
Oh shit! I was gonna say that. I swear I was gonna say that. I swear I was gonna say that.
I was a little kid and I was really into Eddie Guerrero, and I remember reading spoilers that he was supposed to win the title like the next weekend, and just being crushed that it just wasn't happening for him.
Well, you know how I was friends with wrestlers back then, and you know that what Eddie Guerrero's last words were? No. Andale.
Oh no!
Because he used to have that stupid way. That guy could not cut a promo. He could not cut a decent promo.
Not good other Mike.
Mine was Paul Walker for some reason.
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
it was the way he died. Because
Yeah.
you thought it was a hoax at that point. That's why they were like, oh,
Yeah.
Will Smith died. Oh, Denzel Washington died. It's like,
But I remembered that one kind of took a couple days. Like every day got worse after that. And then the crew started to come out. We were a family. We were a family. Family, right? What about yours, Chris?
It was actually what I named Vito, James Gandolfini, because I read what he ate after the day he died. I was like, I could see myself eating that. And I was like, holy shit.
Wait, that's what made you
Reality
relate
check.
to a human life
The
being
diet.
gone as I too enjoy lasagna? That's so weird.
what was it? What was the food?
I think it was 2 steaks, lobster tail, and like a bunch of foie gras.
Jesus
I was like,
Christ.
But that wasn't the reason.
It didn't.
It put him over.
It helped. I'm sure.
I was doing that 3-time meals a day for 40 years.
That does sound.
What was yours,
delicious.
Gail?
It does, right?
Oh my god! Well, first of all, I'm a very sensitive person, so I am a Yanny, as you know. But I can remember the first time it happened. I was very little because it happens to me anytime I
Yes.
care. But River Phoenix was the first
Oh,
time,
yeah.
and it fucking floored me
Yeah.
because he was just like a childhood crush.
Yeah.
And such
a child actor.
And and he was just so young himself.
Yeah.
And just horrifying.
How about for you,
Sweet.
Jen?
Aaliyah, the singer.
Oh yeah, that was so sad.
Remember we
Yeah,
were on a plane that day.
we were on a plane.
Oh,
We
shit.
were on a plane the
Going
same
to LA.
moment that Aaliyah was on.
And that's
a plane.
when what was the big record store out there? Something Records. It was
Tower Records?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was Tower
Yeah.
Records. So we went by there. It was always in every movie, and it was just packed with all these pictures of Aaliyah and flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
Damn.
And it was so sad. And they were like, "Oh, they overpacked her plane.
Ugh.
Like she was
That's
flying
crazy.
private." And they're like, "If she didn't have so many shoes, you know what I mean?"
My God, it's so sad.
Vito, who's the next wrestler that dies that you're gonna cry for?
the Ric Flair thing that happened a few months ago, I got really fucking afraid.
You were texting me freaked out.
Yeah, but he's had a good run. I mean,
he's probably been dead a couple times by now, right?
That could be another fun thing of you got to guess what living person is going to crush people the most.
Oh yeah.
We have my brother actually believes that when Bruce Springsteen dies, no one's going to care.
It was a huge argument.
It was huge. It fucked up our whole night.
Well, here's the thing. Bruce has lived long enough. You're like, that's great. John Lennon died at 40, so everyone was crushed. But, Tom Petty, people are like, it's sad, but...
But I would say that Bowie was not young, and Bowie...
bring it up.
Yeah, but I'm
Don't
just
bring
saying,
up Bowie.
like, that felt like a horror.
Yeah, it was a horror.
It depends the way you go out, too.
This is one that Gail and I shared. So I see it on the screen, and the phone rings, and it's just me and Gail, and we're both quiet. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
And we're not talking, just hear.
Yeah, I was talking to him that morning. I used to coach his kid in basketball. So
Really? You talked to him that morning?
With him. Yeah. That morning, I had a conversation with him for about 5-10 minutes. And then the next
Why
morning.
didn't you say something to him that would have helped?
Yeah, why didn't you save him?
I didn't. Did anyone know that he was doing all this shit?
You know what? I had heard
You
that
could've
he
known.
was so kind to people in recovery for years and years and years, and that's why that one also got to me.
Yeah.
Like for 20 years, like people are like, you know who helped me? And it was like a street person was like, Philip Seymour Hoffman was there for me when nobody was.
that's so
Damn.
sad.
Yeah. He was a good dude, and one glass of champagne. And within like a year, he's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one messed me up.
All right, our buddy Jesse David Fox is going to be here to talk about Vulture Fest. But Ian, great job, buddy.
Thank you, guys. This
I can
is
see why
awesome.
you and Vito thinking about that new big podcast.
Welcome back to Bennington. Jesse David Fox is in studio.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Hey.
Vulture Fest is taking place this weekend, May 19th and 20th in New York City. VultureFestival.com for tickets and a full list of events. And Jesse will be hosting a live version of his podcast, Good One, with guest Bo Burnham. That's on Sunday, May 20th.
Good one.
Yeah, thanks.
6:15 p.m. as part of the festival.
Good to see you, Vulture Fest. Big deal.
Big
for you.
deal.
Yeah. I think I'm going to be there Saturday. Yeah, I'm going to be there Saturday.
For
I'm not sure. I'm going to come in during the daytime because I'm doing something that night. But I didn't want to swing by because I've never really seen one.
Oh, you definitely should come.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, Saturday, Tracy Morgan Saturday. There's like literally it's like a 9 zillion events. I know Tracy Morgan Saturday. There's the Wild Horses, you know them, Lauren Lapkus's improv group.
No.
It's doing a thing with Phoebe Robinson where they interview a person, then improvise. It's just.
Do you like improv comedy?
I do like improv comedy.
Yeah.
It's a thing where I need to take. I can't see too much of it. I think when I moved to the city and I like OD'd on going to see it, and then I was like, this is. But sparingly, it's like when you can be still impressed.
When it's good, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
But the chance of, it's like certain meals. It's like a cheesecake.
I think it has the reputation that people even feel about plays or live theater is that they're like, oh, I don't like it. And you're like, oh, because you've only seen people do it poorly. So like most people who feel that way about plays have only seen their high school play.
Yeah.
Like that's
I
not
don't
the
like
same.
musicals when it's teenagers singing.
Yes.
It's like, professional singing, it's very cool,
But-
even if you don't think you like them.
But that's what happens with improv. It's a lot of people in their early 20s.
Yeah.
And they're just so filled with energy that you want to smoke them out.
Yeah, but you go to later shows and it's people in their late 30s who've gone over all the hope has been drained from them and they're just doing it because they like the craft. And it could be good. And I think at minimum, obviously, it's like valuable. But I think I just remember and when I moved back to the city, I went to like DCM. I went to like 1,000,000 hours, the Del Close Marathon.
Yeah.
And I just saw like tons. And I think ever since then, I was like, it's like if you do too much of a drug and you're like, okay, I think I have to maybe once a year, special occasion.
Oh, okay. So it's like Coke. I get it.
I have no idea about drugs, but I think that's from what I understand that sometimes it's a special occasion.
Yeah. You just got a skin pop. You don't tie off anymore. You're skin popping. You're just a little bit. Your dad skin popped for a while, right?
Skin popped and just straight up, just shot up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He mainlined.
Yeah. All right. So are you looking forward to this one? Is the Bo Burnham?
Yeah, I'm super excited. He's a guy I always thought is really, really interesting, and he has that movie coming out, which I don't know if you guys see. It's called 8th Grade, and it's like really intense. It's like a really authentic, in my opinion. I have no idea portrayal of what it seems to be like to be an 8th grade girl. But we're not talking about that. We're mostly talking about his closer from his last show, which was he did this sort of Kanye thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, really interesting. And I was so excited he picked that. And I tweeted that he was going to do it. And comedians were like, oh, I might come now. Because I've always been fascinated by that joke.
Right.
Because there's a part of it where he's doing that Kanye thing where he's singing an auto tune or whatever.
Yeah.
But then halfway through, he just says something like, my enemy is like you, the audience. Like the fact that I have to appeal to you is like the worst thing about my life. And comedians are like, when he said that, it's like we all think that. That's sort of like, it's this love and hate of like, they are motivated by these people, but also like the fact that every morning they have to get up and they have to feed them and they have to make what they want, make their own life sort of like use their own life to make them happy is a thing that I think a lot of comedians related to.
Well, I think it's always funny when somebody will call like a director or a comedian self-indulgent because I'm like, who else are you supposed to indulge? You can't possibly go, I'm going to write some stuff that they'll know and it'll be good for them.
Yeah.
It's beneath me, but you know what I mean? So and that's going to be the hardest thing. And what you're hoping is that you find an audience because it's never going to be the mass audience that's going to agree with you. I don't care who you are. When you see a comedian, you're like, they're so comfortable on stage. That's because they got to a point in their career where the people who love them show up.
Yeah.
And it's so much different than going to the stand or the cellar and just having people going, who are you? And are you misogynist? I don't know. By your opening joke, I don't feel like I should laugh.
And then the amount of work to get that person then to convince them to laugh at something and make them feel safe. It's like that, I'm sure, is the exhausting part of it.
Right.
Do you feel like a comedian can't be as good as they once were once they have like a solid fan base? Or do you feel like, I think probably it's per comedian's different thing. But
it's very lazy. You get lazy immediately because you're like, hey guys, great to see everybody.
And they're like, laughing at just saying hello.
I've seen a couple specials, particularly lately, where people are doing stuff that they're plugging stuff during their special. All right, I'm just going to say it. Louis Anderson. He's like, make sure you watch. And I'm like, you would never have done this. You would have never have done that.
Well, special's just like, it's not a thing that it's not special at all. And it's almost like we have to accept that now it's just a thing comedians do every couple of years. So they're like, hey, this is an update on my life. I'm now doing this. I'm now doing that.
Yeah, when we've already heard it on a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, it was like if you saw someone live, you might hear stuff. But I hear stories now that I've heard them tell.
Right.
And I know the audience that they're doing is much more of a fan of them than I am. And they have had to have heard it. So what is this fucking thing?
I mean, I think those audiences are fine hearing a joke multiple times or hearing a thing in multiple different ways. The hope is that they find it interesting. I think that was a few years ago I wrote a whole piece about this time in comedy and how these audiences like to see the process and this and that. I don't know if it's true, but I know I do. But it is interesting that John Mulaney had this special, which was tremendous, but there are parts that he told in other venues. And I've heard him talk about no one's seeing everything and probably not, but it is interesting that he made the decision of these jokes are good. It's good for this setting. And also, if you're really good, if you're at a level where your jokes are so good and they're sort of just like a Mulaney where there's such a musicality to how he tells jokes, you can see it another time. You might not, it won't be the surprise the first time, but I still re-listen to his early albums and those are jokes I've heard 4,000 times.
Well, here's the thing about a Mulaney when he has that thing going, and it could be said for just about anyone. I mean, you could say it with Bill Burr. Once you figure out what they do to get funny, where they put emphasis on things, that makes it harder to enjoy that person.
Yeah, you can see his cadence is such a thing. I will say that this special he switched his cadence up a little bit. He's still he's still doing the voice up here, but it's a little bit yellier, so it's a little bit more surprising. But he just has a way where he does to the end of a joke where you just know it's him telling a joke, but it's it's familiar, and ideally it doesn't get exhausting.
Well,
but yeah,
what I think is interesting about Mulaney, because we came out of this whole alt comedy thing, is he could have easily grown up with Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
You know, he could have been Martin Short's neighbor. You know what I mean? Like, he is as traditional
Yeah.
of
Oh,
a
yeah.
stand-up as you possibly have. That's what's always fascinating.
but because he consumed all of it. He grew up like watching like old comedy. Like he loved
Yeah.
Bob and Ray, and he loved like all those. But he was a student his entire career, so that all that's in him. But like, you know, he does certain things that are very Berbiglia, that are very Eugene Merman. But I remember I was talking to him on the premiere episode of my podcast, Good One, which comes out May 21st. And he's like, yeah, that's just what's his name, the performance artist that he did that episode.
Oh, Gray, Spalding Gray.
Spalding Gray. He's like, yeah, that was just me doing Spalding Gray. Like his entire career is like, how can I do it where I can set up a joke so that I can act out a scene where I'm playing both myself and this character and all these voices. And that's like that. Every joke he has is some sort of setup with lots of funny jokes, and then he's like, and now here's this full enactment where I'm my dad, I'm also me as a kid, and then I'm also me as an adult. And that is, I mean, no one is bringing Spalding Gray references usually.
No, that's bizarre that any young man would have loved Spalding Gray.
To be fair, also, he's a 34-year-old man. He's like, oh yeah, Spalding Gray is a big. That is part of what makes him such a.
I remember when I saw Spalding Gray when that thing came out. It was like on HBO or whatever, and I was like, "There is a place where something like this happens." You know what I mean? Like, it's when I started thinking, you know, just living in New York might be worth it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, not to go there for any other purpose, but to go around and see stuff like this.
Yeah, they're like, there's audiences for this. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, huge. I mean, that's the thing always about New York, where it's like, I feel like there's enough people for every type of scene to be able to have an audience for it, which is really fantastic. And I think is a thing that will always have over New York, over LA, where it's like LA is where people are professionals for the most part.
Right.
And like maybe you can be weird professionals, but you're still like trying to get a job like writing for a network sitcom. Where here you can really like spend 4 years in a scene that no one else even knows exists.
Right. And yeah, if you think to yourself, I just need 80 people and to come back.
Oh, yeah.
You know, week for week. Yeah, that's a perfectly artistic way to live your life. It isn't going to get you necessarily a sitcom or something, but it might. You know what I mean?
But
Somebody
if you
might catch
set
on to it.
if you set your bar to like that's what you want, you know what I mean? If
To
you're
do it,
doing,
to do it.
Yeah, like to say like, oh, I would love a space every week to be able to do this kind of show, or once a month I do this really weird thing,
Yeah.
and hey, people are coming out. If that is what your goal is, like you get to live in the joy of making that art. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's true.
Rather than worrying about where it goes from there.
Which is the specific thing that people started doing stuff for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, well, you know, now I think that you looked at, okay, a movie career is just about off the table, or to be a screenwriter, it's just about off the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fact that Charlie Kaufman hasn't had anything produced in so long, you know, makes you think, why would I work towards that anyway?
Right,
That's
if
crazy.
that's the best person,
Yeah.
we've all decided he's pretty much the best at that art form,
Yeah.
like living right now.
Yeah.
He can't get a movie made, then it's like
Because
what's
they
the
make
point?
like 4 movies a year, and they have to have at least like one Transformer in it, and it's fun. I mean, like there's now all these TV shows, so hypothetically that's where everyone's going. It is crazy to think like a comedian, for the most part, if their goal is to be a movie star, that is incredibly insane. I mean, there's essentially like one new comedic movie star every 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like in the last 10 years, essentially been Melissa McCarthy, Kevin Hart, Amy Schumer, and the Tiffany Haddish are 4 people who've been allowed to now be in movies.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Yes.
so few people.
Right.
Yeah.
And the same could be said too, like if you wanted to be on Saturday Night Live. They're going to pick 1 or 2 to just be on the fringe of it. So, you know, that can't be a goal. It just can't be a goal.
And also, if it is, you'd have to, essentially, it feels like a lot of people coming up, their goal is that. And then they have to make the decision of if that's their only goal, because there's so many opportunities that if your goal is only SNL and you're like, I'm going to keep on grinding it out until SNL, you know, recognizes me. And, you know, I did one audition, but I want to keep on going back, which that's how Bobby Moynihan got on. I think he auditioned twice before. you'd be turning down other offers because there are like shows out there for people. Like it is a weird thing of now waiting for you. Basically, everyone should have one. Everyone has one shot at SNL. Like everyone auditions. At minimum, everyone tapes themselves for it. To keep on trying means you're like probably turning down other stuff because they're not like looking at really, really obscure people other than like, it feels like every once a year they get like Luke Null, where you're like, Luke Null literally had to quit a day job to go at SNL.
And then they don't use him. I mean, I don't know why they got. I'm very curious. Like, you brought the kid in.
Yeah.
Let's see. I can't even say, like, some people are like, okay, I don't know. I haven't seen anything.
He hasn't sung one song. His whole thing is that he sings these songs, and he seems nice. He's and he might be funny, and I don't think it's just so interesting that they literally used him not at all. And I don't know if they cut him this season because he didn't do anything. You're like, oh wow, that was just such a weird prank you played on this nice young man from Chicago.
Right.
But also sometimes it works out, right? They like hired Cecily Strong from like nothing. I believe she was still like working the box office at Second City, and she's been tremendous, and she immediately was. And that only SNL does that. No one no one else is plucking people from Chicago specifically.
Yes.
So the fact is they still do that is like a very cool thing that allows it so there are surprises on that show. Where like if they're just cast from New York or LA, everyone's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. You know, like people in LA, I remember before they cast Heidi Gardner, they're like, yeah, it makes sense at Heidi. Or like Chris Redd. Chris Redd was like in Popstar.
Yeah.
Like he was like a person where you're like, oh, eventually he'll be on SNL. And then he just was. But then you also have Luke Null, so at least you're surprised.
Yeah. I think I agree too. I think they're probably going to go, well, this didn't work out, Luke. Even though we didn't try it at all.
Right.
We did nothing.
It's like, but hey, you got to move to New York City.
Yeah.
Welcome. I don't know how he'll feel. I think he'll forever be able to like book college gigs just on the fact that he did this, or at least for the next few years. And then, you know, like Josh Raditsky similarly had 1 year. He basically got to do one thing, but you know, he now is like a person who gets gigs.
Right.
So like it's not.
But he would have anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, he would have.
Yeah, so that's why we'll see what happens with Sweet Luke. I mean, maybe they'll keep him on.
Who was the guy like 3 years ago? He stopped in on his way out of town.
Brooks Wheelan?
I saw Brooks Wheelan in Austin.
Yeah.
And it's 3 years after. And the whole thing was I fired from SNL. He came out, I was like, I'm fired from SNL. And I'm like, still?
I remember hearing that he wasn't going to be, he was hired, he even said kind of this, he was hired as a writer, and then in the New York Times, he learned he was hired as a cast member.
Wow.
And the story that I had heard was that Lauren didn't like that everyone knew already, like that there was no surprise in the announcement. And who knows, I think, I've talked to people who work there where it's like this idea that Lauren is like this puppet master is a bit exaggerated. Like that show, because of how it's ran and how it works, he has to be sort of busy all the time. The fact that he also has time to like sit down and like plot his universe is maybe exaggeration, but I do think it's fun to imagine that where he's like, oh, that they will be surprised. And then it's like he's mostly just a person.
I know a lot of people that have said they left the meeting with Lauren not knowing whether they've been hired or not. That he just, well, you'll do good and people like you and I think you're, you know.
Right.
And then they leave. They just thank him and leave like they met the Pope. And they walk in the hall and they say, am I here? And I mean, I've heard that from a lot of people. Yeah.
When I got the chance to go to SNL, I was just so fascinated how he moved through the room, moved through, the sets, whispered something in somebody's ear. And I'm just like, wow, I can't believe he really is.
No, he's on the floor.
A presence, the way like we kind of assume he is, but he
gives, like he's there all the time. I had a friend who was his assistant for a time, and like he would, like if they're writing until 4 a.m., he's there until like 1 a.m. Like he's not there until 4 if he's not doing anything, but like he's constantly working on this or that. And the reason the show's hours is he lives that way. Like partly, and the cocaine of the 70s, but like for the most part, even when they're stopped doing cocaine, he still was a guy who like, I'll wake up at 11 and I'll go to work and then work until 1 a.m.
But it doesn't occur to him like, maybe we should do this differently. You know what I mean?
The story I always heard is you don't have to. It's just everyone does, and it's fun. But like Kristen Wiig would show up at like 10 a.m. and then leave at like 9 and know that she'd be in a million things, so she'll learn. But like, you could do it. It's just sort of, I think, either it's fun or you're like, well, this is what Belushi did, and I want to be.
Yeah, right.
Like, yeah, but he was out of his mind.
I do miss that, like the stories behind the stories, because they just don't exist anymore.
Not in that way. Not that I've heard. I've heard like the stories during Seth's reign, it was really nice and everyone had a good time. And I think I've heard now that it's stressful, but not that like people are partying, just that it's tense. Right. Partly because of the eyeballs on it and stuff. I think it's just tense.
The 90s, right before Will Ferrell, is where it was like the White House is now, where there's leaks and backstabbing and all that. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, and it's
where the writers wouldn't laugh at somebody else's sketch. You know what I mean? Like, in the read through.
I love that idea of just like you have writers who are on your team. So like, you don't like him, right? They don't sell.
I'd be fantastic at not laughing at someone's hilarious material too. Very good at not selling.
Yeah, I think you should have tried to audition for SNL by just sitting on the stage and not laughing. It's like, look, I can do this too.
Well, you know, when I was in SNL at the Dress, and I was sitting there, and Lauren was running around doing stuff, and then I saw him just stand and look at me for a while. And it was like, I could see him going, who the fuck is this guy? And then he went on his way again. But there was a part of me that was like, oh, wouldn't it have been great to be thrown out by Lauren? Like, you don't belong here.
You're going to ruin the show, and I don't know how, but your energy is going to ruin. Well, I guess it's like, you're going to laugh at the wrong parts, and you're going to skew my whole thing.
Well, one of the problems, and Vito just slept out for Childish Gambino and did the whole thing, you know, wrote up every hour on the hour. But what I think is hilarious is, the audience is exhausted from sleeping out, and B, I think the kids are there for the pop stars more than the comedy. That audience is the wrong audience.
Yeah, it's a strange way to gather an audience
it's
for
like,
a comedy show.
It's tourists, people who are there for pop stars, or it's like sales clients, I have to imagine.
Yeah,
I have to imagine just sort of like NBC universe. Yeah, and so it's like, but in Lauren's mind, this is America. And like, it's worked, I guess. I mean, the show's on the air, and like, for everything that is annoying about the show, which is a million things, it works. And that is it's fascinating that it's a thing that works.
Well,
for sometimes that things get on the air that are good is almost amazing. But like, it's for a wide range of people. I remember Seth Meyers, every time I talked to him, it's like, you're not supposed to like the whole show. If you like the entire show, we messed up a little bit. Yeah. Where like, our goal is to have different senses of humor, and like a good head writer is able to be like knowing who does what.
Right. So that's like those late sketches that get really silly and weird.
Yes.
And then you're going to have political, and then you're going to have like some sort of commentary about, you know, celebrity.
Yeah. They know everything is like, oh, this fills this line, and something is weird, but like weird somehow really good. They'll move it forward. But for the most part, it's like, okay, political at the beginning, then some sort of monologue, and then like the first thing will probably be pop culture-y or just sort of broad and like character-y, and then like slowly it gets depending on the host, right? Like John Mulaney's episode was like, everything felt like a writer was there. Like, we got a writer, we're gonna write this episode. He's not gonna do like big falls.
I think that the best thing about being a fan of that show is the same as if you're a fan of a sports team.
Yeah,
is you do feel like you can run it. Like, if someone said to me, would you be general manager of the Giants? I'd say yes. I can find the talent. And I feel like I could go in and find the funniest people.
So I literally have a piece, I think, coming out next week. So we're doing this sort of big, Vulture's doing a relaunch of its sort of comedy section. We bought splitsider.com and we're doing this big launch. And we'll have all these pieces, whatever. And I have this piece that I've been working on forever about watching SNL like it's sports. And part of it is this idea of like, yeah, I can be the general manager of that. Yeah. I know who to cut. I would trade this person.
Yes.
So it's that exact feeling of, it is fun to be the backstreet driver of that show, where you wouldn't do that for like Blackish. You wouldn't be like, oh, I would have.
Yeah, it's true.
I would have hired a different head writer. You don't know. I have no idea how Blackish runs. But like this, you're like, everything is so transparent, and you read the book, so you have a sense of how it kind of works. But also because it's been around our entire lives, it's easy to feel like you know as much as the people doing it, because you just live through it, and you're like, oh, I know. I've been watching this my entire life.
Yeah, that's so funny. All right, Vulture Fest. You're looking forward to this, right?
Yes, of course.
You guys worked towards this for a long time.
Yeah, we've been. I mean, I've essentially, since Vulture Festival LA ended in November, I've been working on this one. And it's a lot of stuff, a lot of comedy stuff. There'll be my podcast, Tracy Morgan, John Lucasamo. There's a comedy show Sunday night at the Bell House that I curated. Wyatt Cenac, Julio Torres, Mateo Lane, Anna Faye Brega. Who else is in that show? Michelle Buteau. So that's good. And, the entire festival, just check out vulturefestival.com.
Again, this is another reason to... you don't normally get this in your hometown, so this is like a cool thing if you even want a vacation or do the weekend. Because these people are all walking around the whole weekend too. And that's always a blast.
VultureFestival.com for tickets and a full list of the events. Jesse David Fox has been in studio. Jesse's hosting a live version of his podcast, Good One, with guest Bo Burnham, Sunday, May 20th, 6:15 p.m. And Jesse's podcast, Good One, returns May 21st with guest John Mulaney, available on Apple Podcasts and Twitter at Jesse David Fox.
All right, let's not wait so long. It's been like 7 months since the last time you were here.
I'll look. What are you doing tomorrow?
Yes, come on in. You can always sit in.
All right, I'll come when it's one of my favorite things to do is to come by here.
And there's other favorite things you have?
It's this hosting my podcast. No, that's work. I don't know. I like dinner.
Yeah.
This and dinner, top 2 things.
Have you read the Robin Williams book yet? We had an excerpt on our site. I read that, but I haven't read the whole thing. It's those kind of careers aren't going to happen anymore, right? It's just not going to be where you get that kind of a run.
It's hard to imagine what entertainment will be like, right? Because we know at the end of it, we're like, I don't know, let's say at John Mulaney example, like in 60 years, I assume all entertainment will be like some weird robot chips in our brain. So who knows what the thing is.
It'll be straight VR where you're in the movie or whatever. But that thing of, I just thought it was funny that like towards the end of his life, it was like, hey, I'm not getting the same parts. And we're just talking about no one gets parts.
Yeah, there's no parts.
You got parts for 30 years. It's like
you, Robin Williams, Mork from Mork. You're like, I don't get the parts I used to. It's like you got to be in multiple Oscar-winning roles as that guy.
What else was really funny is Pam Dobler was like, oh, yeah, he was just feeling me up and grinding on me through the whole thing. We were laughing about it. But yes, today that would be considered everything that everyone's panicking about.
It depends. If she was okay with it, it is fine. That is the point is that you're not allowed to touch other people. But if she is okay with it, that is what consent is. Yeah. She seemed okay with it.
But a lot of times people decide after the fact, hey, I wasn't okay with that. Even though I told you I was. Read it in my eyes. Aziz. All right, that's it. We'll see you all again in 1974.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evening is over. We hope you all enjoyed yourselves, and we'll see you all again in 1974. Good evening!